Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's a possibility this page is being targeted. I mean, this room because something weird happened I've never seen happen. I heard Wani say I can't hear, and then I don't even know if y'all heard me. I was talking for a minute. I had some really important stuff to say. If anybody heard me say anything, give me a thumbs up. Wow, nobody heard me. I was sitting there talking, and but anyway, the screen went white. The whole screen of X just went white, and I heard Wani saying, "I can't hear. I can't hear." So
But were you talking, or because I just say that and I forget that people are listening? So,
no, I was talking. I was saying I was spitting some hot fire. Hell yeah, on what I was saying. But I remember what I was saying, so I'm gonna say it again. Let's do it. So the ladies, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I said this gonna start. I'm gonna treat this like my regular job, and we're gonna treat this like a unit project. So we're going to talk about cosplaying. What I was saying, while somebody was hating on me, was uh, our immigrant groups misrepresenting us. And I said, if immigrant groups are misrepresenting FBAs, who's sending them to us? And I said, they not stumbling. They not stumbling into our movements. The reason why I know this is, as Wanik will attest, it's kind of hard to get access to the United States from melanated countries. You know what I'm saying? From places like West Africa. What I was saying when they cut me off is I spend some time in Togo in the jungle every once in a while, and in Ghana and near Togo. And every time I go, the natives really just beg us to come over. These are really smart people with good grades who's been accepted to historically black colleges, but their visas get denied by the United States. What I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is people are cherry picked from certain countries. Now, maybe in Europe and in England and Canada, it's different, but in melanated, lower socioeconomic status countries, people are handpicked to come over here. And what I've noticed is people who are riders who got our back generally don't make it to the States. You know what I'm saying? We get the vitriolic backstabbers. So that leads me to a question: who is sending them to us? So we're going to explore that today. We're going to look into that. I'm going to say this more than once, but I wanted to open up the floor, open up the discussion with one of the worst traders of all time. Um, my trader award goes to Shirley Chisholm. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, Shirley Chisholm, a black congresswoman, said, quote, "The law can't do it for us. We must do it for ourselves. Women in this country," hold on, let me say that shit one more time. "Women in this country must become revolutionaries. We must refuse to accept the old and traditional roles and stereotypes. Dot, dot, dot. We must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity. She wasn't no motherfucking American. Where was she?
say that again. You broke up.
You see, they playing with
Say the
me.
end part again.
We
Just say
must,
the end part.
we
The
must,
femininity part.
we must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity with positive action. Dot, dot, dot.
Hey, Actify, what you got?
Oh, I came in the right room today. And you're a correct,
What's
professor.
up,
I
bro?
mean, I can't divulge, where, because I kind of dox myself. But you are correct.
Right?
I can tell you about experience I had on Twitter a couple of years ago, just as this movement was getting started, right? And delineation was getting started. One of the naysayers, African cat, right? He still had his African name, yada yada yada. And I noticed that he was a junior. Okay, let me see what dad he's talking about, because I had a theory, much like the one you have right now. I went, and
Mm-hmm.
his daddy ran a coup in Ghana. But daddy's he's
Wow.
he and the dude I was talking about is first generation. I was like, oh, School of the Americas. These people are second generation traders to their own, right? People that run
Right.
coups in the third world. Their reward, if they survive, if the coup is unsuccessful, or if it's successful and there's no place for one of these people, their reward is coming to America with a clean slate, money in their pocket, and doing what they want to do with cover of the CIA, FBI, and whoever, whatever other agency. There, the DOD has a bunch of these. The DOD has a bunch of these people. CIA has a bunch of these people who are coming here to be rewarded for their good service overseas. And of course, they have children. And who would not want their child to follow in their footsteps? This, my friends, is what we're looking at. We're looking at people that didn't give a fuck about their own. You think they're gonna give a fuck about us?
Preach.
And that's what we're up against. And I think folks need to understand that. Are there some random folks that just trying to get in where they fit in because they know this government doesn't want us to have shit? Yes. But some of these more sophisticated folks, some of these more like the ones that debate well, they're trained, and there's no way to get around it. No way to get around it. A good example is what's that dude's name? Is the RJ?
You said someone debated well? Who's this?
No, well, not debate on our level, but the ones that are masters of deflection, them
Right.
them
You mean
Oh,
Gonzo or
like
somebody?
like
up
RJ
up
is
here.
always in Tariq's rooms.
Oh yeah.
The ones that slickly redirect the conversations.
Why don't
That's a
they come in
skill, and that's
here? I don't understand.
but you're on a different level, Wani. You're on a different level of debate. All right, but for the
Well,
average
if
They-
they
person,
go
they-
into Tariq's room, they certainly would not be scared to come in here. They get shredded over there.
yeah, but
oh,
but but they get their talking points out over there to a large audience. That's the point, right? So what
Oh,
they're
okay.
doing,
So they're just looking to get attention.
yeah, they're looking to get attention, but
right.
attention is one thing, but getting those talking points off and giving other people the ammunition to refute what's going on, that's also important. That's also part of the game. They get to spread their word. I see. I know what. I understand what Tariq is doing, showing people how to counter it. That's important. But the other side of it is they get to spread their word as well. But I think we have to be. And another part of that is a lot of these folks, and we saw it a lot during this. I'm sorry to be so so
No, you good, brother.
Go
so
ahead.
scattered, but we see it a lot with the people that have been involved with the Democratic Party, the tethers that have involved the Democratic Party. We see it a lot now. How easily they lie, because that's how politics function where they're from. It's just okay. I have to convince this person to support what I'm doing. I just need to know what they want, and I'm going to tell them what I think they want to hear. Right? And
I'm
we
pretty
saw that a
shocked
lot
by the
this
culture of lying, though. It's just like, wow,
yeah.
they just
When
won't
it comes to
stop.
when it comes to I have been involved with some things over there, and when it comes to politics over there, lying is second nature. It's second nature. I know politicians lie, but the lying over there is, yeah, it's second nature.
A whole new level.
A whole new
But
level.
it's not just the politics. You can just say anything and they'll say, oh, no, we've never had a genocide over here. Hello? 30 million people? I
Yeah,
mean, they
that,
just lie about things that are random.
yeah. There's a lot of random lying to protect to what they think they're protecting, um,
It's
the
a saving
reputation.
face culture, which most
Yeah,
people have. We're a very open culture, but
yeah,
most people in the world want to save face and cover up in the cat box.
yeah. Exactly, and that's another part of the deception, right? Is that how easily they align, deflect, and try to change the subject. And you see them; they're slick. They are slick. RJ is a good example. I'm not, again, for a trained debater and for people. for a trained debater and somebody who's been doing this for a while, like Wani, you've been in these tether crushing streets, like you're OG in this shit. You're a different level, right? But for people who are uninitiated in this, it's gonna, especially for our people, like you said, we're a very open culture, and we say what we mean, and that's part of our First Amendment rights and part of us being who we are. We say what the fuck we mean, and we mean what we say, right? For them, that's something totally different. I'm going to say what I think I need to say to move ahead. And you see it when they get all loud and boisterous. I'm going to keep checking the black box because it benefits me, and I don't give a fuck what you say. Right?
Right.
It's there. It's
Well, you'll
embedded.
be checking it from Nigeria because you're getting
Yeah,
out.
yeah, and it's
I love
culturally
it.
embedded. It's not. It's this is what makes sense to them. That's what this is natural, and it makes and to in their minds this is what I'm supposed to do here, or this is what I'm supposed to do in this situation. Fuck everybody else. Help me in mine, specifically me, my immediate family, and then my tribe, and then my region, and then maybe my nation. And people need to start understanding that we used to think, we're learning much better now. We used to think all black people, all poor people, all quote unquote now people of color, all we've been um we've been indoctrinated to see all those people as us. We've been indoctrinated to have this huge heart and be willing to sacrifice for the world because that is our calling, yada yada yada. Right? All this all this stuff is
Yes.
bullshit. Right? We're supposed to take care of ourselves just like everybody else. And our folks need to start understanding that they think about themselves first and foremost. Maximum tribe for most of them. Maximum tribe. It's them first, their family, then extended family, then tribe. And then maybe, and I say maybe nation, right? So, well, region and then maybe nation. And when people start understanding that's their point of view, things will start to fall into place. Yeah, and that's all I needed to say. I'm sorry, I was kind of rambling there.
No,
We
you weren't
love it.
rambling at all, brother. You weren't rambling at
Yes,
all.
thank you.
Um, I, yes, sir. Thank you. So let's go back to Shirley Chisholm's ass. Shirley Chisholm. Where was Shirley Chisholm from? Wani was.
I didn't look it up, but I did look her up before. She is Caribbean. I can look it up
I
now,
knew.
but I don't know exactly
Yeah,
about
didn't
her.
know if it was Jamaica or the
Let me look
She's
it
Caribbean.
up.
I mean,
Bahamian,
Bah-
Bahamian, or
Bahamian.
something with one of the B's. Sorry.
Let's look. You're good, bro. Let's look at the timing on this. So Shirley was sent. Who sent her around us? But let me tell you what Shirley's mission was. Shirley's mission was to come around our sisters and spread the ideology of you don't need a man. And let look at what Dr. Howard Zinn says about Shirley's contribution to foundational Black American women, who at this point had a 80% marriage rate. Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, perhaps the most profound effect of the 60s beyond the casual victories on abortion and job equality was called consciousness raising, often done in women's groups, which met in homes all across the country. This meant the rethinking of roles, the rejection, the confidence in self, the bond of sisterhood, a new solidarity of mother and daughter. So uh, Shirley Chisholm, in my opinion, was an op, and she was sent to disrupt as an operative to disrupt the black family. Because if you remember, before Shirley Chisholm mysteriously came into the mix with her fancy glasses and cancerous ideology, the Black American family was intact. The Black American family was intact so much so that you can look through Richard Nixon's diary and see that he screamed out like a woman. Nothing's wrong with being a woman, but he said, Henry. He was talking to Henry Kissinger. Henry, stop them, or they're going to jump over the fence and get us. Who was them? Them was us, and that was a no-no. Why was it a no-no? Because the black American family was not supposed to be strong because we were broke, we were being lynched, hung from trees, starved, we're getting poor nutrition, denied proper finances. But guess what we had? We didn't have a job, we didn't have a fancy car, but we had each other. The agencies realized that for some reason the black American family, the power was coming from the family. The power was a family source, which is very fascinating if you look back at the original um, source of Christianity, which we refer to as a Memphite theology, Aset Asar Haru, which means mother, father, son, the Holy Trinity. Right? The Holy Trinity originally was a family, a father, a mother, and a child in tandem, standing together against oppression. And that's what the hell we were doing. And in back rooms, think tanks of three-letter agencies, they cooked up different ways to separate the mother from the father. That was first and foremost. And secondly, they literally cooked up formulas to do something that had never been done before in the epic of human time. They cooked up a formula to separate the mother, according to Dr. Shahrazad Ali, from the cub. And that formula, ladies and gentlemen, we call crack cocaine.
Um,
You gonna say someone?
yes. Every time someone does this, uh, since I've seen a pattern is where you have a woman saying, I don't want anyone to compliment my outfit. I don't want the man to open the door for me. Okay. And then we later find out that that person is gay. So, of course, you don't want that. But you've now represented all the women. So, women that do like compliments on their outfits and women that do want the door open now have the door slammed in their face like a dog. This is what's going on. And I said, I wonder if Shirley Chisholm is gay. Well, I can't
Hmm.
prove she's gay, but her husband is rumored to be gay. Okay, so one of her husbands, she might be a cover. What do you call it? A beard.
A beard.
She may be. Um, I'll look more into it, but I noticed that people that do that, women that get in these feminist movements and women's movements are not for lesbians. They have a movement. It's called lesbian. Go over there. They like to get in women's movement and turn women, make the women hate men. Our goal in a women's group is to just have fair pay, be able to have a bank account, be able to inherit money. Those are the things that women wanted to vote, these types of things. We, at the end of those pursuits, wanted men. But these other women don't want men. So they don't have the same attitude when they're in these women's empowerment groups. Their goal is to make you hate men and go along with them and what they're doing. They already know you're angry with men. Duh. We have a woman's movement to get a bank account and to get fair pay or to vote. Of course, we're a bit ticked off at men, but they take advantage of that and they can't stay out of these groups and they can't stop lying about their sexuality while they're flapping their mouths about women's issues. That's the thing I don't like. They don't say who they are. They do all this talking about I don't want the door open, blah blah blah, and then later you find out they're gay. And yes, they can have a husband because that's what Billie Jean King did. She had a full-blown husband and she was gay as hell. And later we find out she's a racist who hates Serena playing tennis and her sister, and we find out that she had a whole fight with a man and tried to make all the women hate men during the 70s. Remember that? No, you don't, because you're too young.
Well, let's examine some text. I read this earlier, but I'm gonna read it again with some context. So let's look at the civil rights movement. During the civil rights movement, what did we gain? We under the Johnson administration, we gained law. Before the Johnson administration, we gained law. It was a crusade vis-a-vis the legal um, system to get laws to create equality. The 14th Amendment. These are laws and statute. So we have laws and statute give creating perceived equality. Although Attorney Alton Maddox said integration was disintegration, but that's a whole nother space and a whole nother time. This is what we're gonna roll with today. Law did a lot for us, right? So Shirley Chisholm, coming out the swamps of the Bahamas, says, quote, the first thing out her mouth was, the law cannot do it for us. Stop right there. Why in the motherfucker is she speaking against law when law gave foundational black Americans a sense of equality and a little comeuppance? Was that jealousy? Was she on an operation to do that? Well, let's keep reading. Let's see what else Shirley Chisholm ass said. She said we. Now who the fuck is we? She ain't us. But she said we must do it for ourselves. Women in this country must become revolutionaries. Why weren't you a revolutionary in your own fucking country? She further says, we ain't no we, you ain't us. We must refuse to accept the old traditionals, roles, and stereotypes. We must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity with positive thoughts and positive action. Only problem with that is she wasn't us. So what the fuck she over here doing
Positive
telling our women what to
negative
do?
thoughts about our femininity. What is she talking about?
She said we must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity. What
What's
does that mean?
negative
I don't
about
know.
it? That she doesn't like it because
Mm-mm.
she's doesn't want to be feminine? She's angry with
Mm-mm.
femininity. Why?
Because she was a hit woman. She was here to destroy the black American family. And I'm shit. She damn succeeded. Her mission was accomplished.
Again,
The
these
purpose of this
people,
space.
hey,
Go ahead.
one thing I want to point out when we're talking about women from other countries, bear in mind they're losers. They never fought for civil rights. They never fought for women's rights. So they hate their men viciously. And their men do slap them upside the
Right.
head, and they bring that over here and act like they're going to act up over here. Like, oh, there, this one looks like our men, so they're all like our men. No, they're not.
That's a fact. I was in a room. I think Wani and Nikki, maybe a Robbie. It was a popular room where they were playing a video. Where it's somewhere in Africa where there was a raid and a war, and a man's wife was getting raped, and she told him to hide up under the bed, and this damn fool hid up under the bed while his wife was getting raped. Like literally,
Wait, the husband hid under the bed?
he hid under the bed while his wife was being
Wow.
violated. He didn't make a mumbling sound. That would have been a day that I would have died.
Well, usually they just kill the wife before any of that could happen. They have a huge wife killing problem. Although the women are the number one cheaters, so I guess it just goes hand in hand.
Mm-mm. So are immigrant groups misrepresenting us, FBAs? I think it's clear to say yes. We have been infiltrated by so many people who ain't us, telling us what we need to do and destroying our politics. I mean, I don't know where to begin. Who should we begin with, Wani?
What's the guy? I forget. He was in the Black Panthers, but the he said we so many times and nobody ever questioned it. We don't question people saying we when they're Indians. I mean, I was in a room earlier and these bimbos are still in there crying and talking about Kamala's a black woman who didn't get a chance, and they're on all kinds of. I couldn't believe what I was listening to, telling everybody what antidepressants they're taking and how they're going to do their own abortions at home, and I was like,
Wow.
what?
Since when has an abortion been a flex? That's
I
something
don't
that
get it.
you know it's so crazy. It's like it's demonic, man. And let me get something clear. I am for women's rights. I am 100%. I'm not a woman, and a woman deserves the right to do what she wants with her body. But I also, but in the same breath, That's not something you brag about. That's like a situation that's kind of like an emergency that you might want to keep between you, your husband, your boyfriend, your partner, your parents, and Almighty God. Why the hell are you making it
I don't
fashionable?
know. They're
I
just out there screaming about it. I was like, well, what is actually being lost here? What did you lose because Kamala is not the president? I just wanted to hear it, and that's all they were saying.
wow,
Get some birth control, people.
yeah. So, Black Panthers. I was stumbling through Black Panthers, and I stumbled upon a quote from Malcolm X that my students used to get a kick out of. Malcolm X said, "You'll get freedom by letting your enemy know that you'll do anything to get your freedom. Then you'll get it. It's the only way you'll get it. When you get that type of attitude, they'll label you a crazy Negro, or they'll call you a crazy nigga. They don't say Negro. Or they'll call you an extremist, or subversive, or sedacious, or red, or radical. But when you stay radical long enough and get enough people to be like you'll get your freedom." That's our brother Malcolm X, our dear brother Malcolm X. Um, the Back to the subject at hand, our immigrant groups misrepresenting the FBAs. Wani brought up the Black Panthers, and I don't profess to be a scholar on Black Panthers. I'm still learning, but I do recall one of the Black Panthers' biggest mistakes is having open enrollment, um, and they were infiltrated by three letter agencies. Um, Dr. Howard Zinn says between 1956. Well, let me skip back a little bit further. Dr. Howard Zinn says it was discovered later that the government, in all the years of the civil rights movement, while making concessions through Congress, was acting through the FBI to harass and break up militant groups. Between 1956 and 1971, the FBI concluded a massive counterintelligence program known as COINTELPRO that took 295 actions against black groups. Black militancy stubbornly resistant to destruction. A secret bureau report to President Nixon in 1970 said in a recent poll that approximately 25% of the black population has a secret respect for the Black Panther Party. Blah blah blah. So, the Panther Party, ladies and gentlemen, was infiltrated through foreigners.
What
Um,
date was that? Does it say
Ooh,
when
I
they
just
were
skipped the page.
when
It
they
was
were saying it was infiltrated, or that we secretly like them? Who? When was it a secret? I've been saying that since I was a teenager. Why didn't we go the Black Panther way? Why did we go the Martin Luther King path? That was my question as a
hold
child. Still
hold
asking the
on one.
question.
I'm looking for the page
That's
again. I
okay.
lost it. It's all good. 461. Yeah. So got it. So it was 1970.
So the writer was feeling that people liked the Black Panthers but weren't vocal about it.
I think what Dr. Zen was letting them know that the popularity in the Black Panther Party was rising. Dr. Zen says there was a fear that blacks would turn their attention from the controllable field of voting to the more dangerous arena of wealth and poverty, of class conflict. He further says in 1966, 70 poor black people in Greenville, Mississippi occupied an unusual Air Force barracks until they were evicted by the military. A local, have you ever heard of that? I never heard of
No.
this.
Is
See?
that a is it
So,
a what did they do?
um, well, Dr. Zen says a local woman, Miss Unita Blackwell, said, "I feel that the federal government has proven that they don't care about poor people. Everything that we have asked, blah blah blah." Basically, they took up. It was a abandoned Air Force base in Mississippi, and they took it over. They were like, "Fuck this! I'm not gonna
Oh,
starve."
you mean
This,
squatting
they're
because they didn't have any place to be. They didn't have a place to
yeah, they were
live.
make black people. Basically, what was happening, and this is very important. I'm glad I stumbled
Okay,
upon
yeah, go
that.
ahead. I never heard of this before. So they were like
That it,
sheltering in there.
Yeah, what was happening, ladies and gentlemen, is we were starting to wake up in the late '60s, early '70s. That's called common sense. And I'm not dissing our brothers and sisters on the streets right now. We're all awakening, in the process of awakening. But what Dr. Zen is pointing out that is that black people just said, fuck this. If you're gonna just hit me and destroy me from every which way, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna get it how I can. And if you know what I'm saying, there is an empty military base. I'm moving on that motherfucker, and we gonna sleep, and we gonna hunt, and we gonna live. And blacks were making too much sense, so they had to infiltrate us and fill our mind with nonsense again. I was saying this shit yesterday. I'd be damned. Everything keeps going back to psychological operations. It's important for us to be insane. Dr. Claude Anderson says that. He says the only way, and you know who else says that? Dr. I feel like I'm having an epiphany right now, y'all. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said that. She says the only way that a small percentage of the world can dominate a large percentage of the melanated world is if the larger percentage of the melanated world are out of their fucking mind. Amos Wilson says the same shit. Dr. Claude Anderson said we got on upside down glasses. We're looking at the world the wrong way. We're mentally ill, and it's not because we have mental illness. It's because we're being psychologically tortured with all this nonsense, including but not limited to, it's a flex to have an abortion. That's not a flex. That's a serious situation. I've been in that situation before. You know what I'm saying? And it's very, I'm not gonna tell all my business, but that's a very serious situation. That's if this pregnancy goes through, you might, somebody I really care about is going to lose her life. So, that's very serious shit.
Well,
But, I'm not going to get him blasted.
my concern is that I know that women gave themselves abortions in the UK and they paid heavy prices. They had little techniques and stuff. They would go to certain women or certain crooked doctors. And one of the doctors was a serial killer, so they go in there to get an abortion and he would gas them and do stuff to them. That's a whole
Wow.
nother story. But the point is that women get desperate and they will do anything. They'll drink things, they'll stick things up, and I don't want to see that. Obviously, that's why we
No, no, none of
that's
us
why
do.
we developed safe abortions for people because they're gonna do it. They're going to do this, and that's what I'm scared of. I'm not against abortion or safe abortions, but to see someone using that as the as a talking point. That's a side private thing that shouldn't even be mentioned. It should just be grouped in with women's health care, right? We want women's health care, blah, blah, blah. For them to be in the room talking about ways to do abortions and how upset they were, that's incredible. I can't believe what I heard.
Yeah, it's cringeworthy. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get mine. That you can't stop me. I'm gonna get mine. Like it's. I don't even know Wani. I don't have a clever analogy. I'm sorry. I don't have it. It's a whole nother level. I wanted to quickly identify the power of psychological programming, because maybe I'm not being clear enough, or it's kind of deep stuff to explain, but I can't go over enough how powerful these techniques of psychological brainwashing, how they've been perfected over and over again. So a good way, I'm assuming that most people in this room have been to a casino. So if that assumption is correct, I want to let y'all know that millions, maybe $1 billion, have been paid by casinos to psychologists to try to drain people who go to casinos. Most of them have an addiction, a mental illness. So fuck it, just exploit their mental illness. Welcome to America. Dr. Chris Hedges, in his beautiful book America: The Farewell Tour, says in his chapter on gambling, he says, "quote The science of keeping people in front of the slot machines." Uh-oh. You know what that's called, ladies and gentlemen? It's called time of a device. which is interesting because in military organizations they call pilots call it time on target. Well, anyway, Chris says within the industry has led to the creation of ergonomic consoles, appealing, warm pixelation on screens, seductive video graphics, and all surround sound acoustics. The hype and glitter of the casino befits a gigantic Venus flytrap. Fields of flashing slot machines emit 400 different sounds. Listen to this shit, all in the key of C. Do y'all want to know why? It's in the key of C because it is supposed to be less fatiguing than other keys. They spent millions of dollars and professors all across the country to find out what sound fatigues you the less, and C is it. So everything in the casino is manipulated to fit in the bounds of the note C. Isn't that deep? Chris further says gamblers, their brains numbed into submission, mechanically surrender their money. The images on the slots are often lifted from familiar television shows such as Bonanza, I Love Lucy, The Price is Right, or Aladdin. Why? Because the age group, again, they do math. They do math on the median age group, or I guess it's the mode, median mean mode, the mode, the most frequent number, age that pops up in the casino, and whatever that most frequent age average is, guess what? They start looking at TV shows that they used to watch. Isn't that shit deep? So the TV shows they used to watch when they were 0 to 5, here goes Freud again, your most impressionable years, right? They start playing those images on the fucking slot machine because you feel it. If you feel, you don't even know why, but you feel comfortable. You feel at home. You feel warm. Why do you feel warm? Because you see your favorite cartoon that you fucking forgot about, but your subconscious mind is saying, "Hey, don't leave. Stay here. This feels like home." Hedges says board games such as Monopoly are used to make gamblers feel as if the machines are familiar, which is what I just said. Chris says the red lights and fast music accelerate. Listen to this shit. I'm gonna say it again. The red lights and fast music accelerate the rate of gambling. Let's put our mind on that for a minute. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, once they get you and get your mind in the zone of gambling, they get you in that zone. They use the music all keyed in C, which is was pleasant, right? And if they want to drain your money real fast, they accelerate the music. Isn't that deep? Lastly, Chris says pleasant scents and oxygen keep players awake and are pumped through the floor vents. Soft lights, and this one always upsets me, but it says soft lights make the room feel like a womb. What I just told you, ladies and gentlemen, is Sigmund Freud. That fucking pervert named Sigmund Freud, who did those experiments on his daughters that involved sexual things I'm not going to talk about and
What?
cocaine.
I
Yeah,
just knew
buddy.
about some quotes he did and all those idols on his desk. He was into
Oh
some
no,
deep
he did.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll put some in the jumbotron to give you an
Weirdo.
ideology. I just don't feel comfortable saying it because it could be spun and used against me. So I will
I
give you a
only agree
visual
with
since I brought.
I only agree with one aspect of mental health.
Wow. Counseling?
Yes, talking to someone about your problem, like your aunt or your cousin or your best friend, that is helpful. Writing it down in a journal, those things do work, and people have been doing those the whole time because they already know it works. But the rest of it, no. They have never cured anything, and they also uh, test a lot of medications on people, and then they withdraw the medications on people. They do a lot of things. I hear people talking about these things all the time. What I said, what do you do? Like, you just give someone medicine and that's it forever? They're taking it? Is there, what is it? Like, how does it work? They have never cured anything. They have, like, what branch of medicine can get away with that? If you are performing heart surgery, you have to prove that that works. You have to prove it, or else they'll say that's fake. That's not a real science. Just like astrology. I think astrology did work at some point and people did know, but it's not considered a real science because people can't prove what they're doing. I think they lost that art. I think it did work at some point, but they lost the way to do it. It's pretty good. I've had some really spooky readings, but whatever. That's beside the
Wani,
point. It's a science that literally they haven't cured anything.
you had a whole bunch of information just came out. The use of those sciences, those ancient sciences, require the ability to comprehend the totality of what's going on in the universe. That sounds deep as hell, but it's not really that deep. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says that foundational Black Americans have a talent, and the Egyptians had a talent. Basically, their melanin, their nervous system grounded them to the universe, which we don't have to get all scholarly with it. We know it's true. We know that we're in tune with stuff that a lot of people aren't. So, according to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, she says, what, quote, Western and social behavioral science, particularly psychiatry, has been content with behavioral fragment analysis and multiple theoretic explanations of different behaviors. Like what that means, basically what Wani was talking about, psychiatry and all that bullshit. So Dr. Welsing says, this demonstrates a failure to comprehend the entire forest while focusing on isolated trees or clumps of trees. That's what European medicine does. European science focuses on little bitty things off here and there, random shit, when we used to focus on the whole forest, right? Welsing further says failure to comprehend the whole behavioral energy forest field has resulted in isolated behavior modifications and techniques and programs, which, like Wani was saying, just medicine. I don't know what's going on with them. Just give them some pill, which is ridiculous. That's turning you into a goddamn zombie or a dope addict.
Have you ever
Now
noticed
back
they
to
all do the same thing? They tranquilize everybody. So what they're saying is, shut the hell up. Take a
yeah,
tranquilizer
shut up and leave me
yeah,
alone.
just tamper down. That's what they do with children. What's that drug they give them? Not Adderall, but Ritalin.
Adderall.
It. These are all tranquilizers, or either they do something to make them shut up. I forget how some of them work, where they're a stimulant, but it still makes them shut up.
Yeah, my doctor gave me was it Adderall, whichever one's an amphetamine when I was in law school. I had like a mini breakdown and couldn't focus, and my doctor gave it was
And
Adderall,
it
I
helps you
think,
focus, right?
Ritalin, I think,
I heard
and
that.
I ended up, I threw it away because it was too good. Now I've never done
Too
cocaine,
good.
but I've had friends, never done it, but I have a whole bunch of friends who have, and my friends all had, and they all had these excellent stories of cocaine, and I was like, man, I ain't trying that shit. Well,
Nope.
when I in my mid 20s, when my doctor gave me Adderall, when I popped a couple of those pills, it felt like what my friend said cocaine was like. And it was so good that I threw it away. I was like, I don't want to be addicted to
Wait.
this. I felt like a god.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. God. Oh my God. Wait a
I
minute.
felt like a god. Wani, I'll
What
tell
was
you
this
exactly how the
for?
fuck
It
I
was
felt.
was it supposed to make you focus on your work or what? I heard that college
Yeah, yeah,
students take
I
this to study, to focus.
they snorted. Yeah, they
But
snorted. They busted
don't they get
into,
it from
well,
the
the white
doctor?
one, the white college student. It's kind of hard to get from doctors, but I took I took about half that bottle, but I remember it's a movie. I'll tell you exactly how Adderall affected my body. There was a movie with Bradley Cooper. What was the name of
Is
that
it an
movie?
action
Where it
movie?
was a pill.
This is the only time I'm
It
actually
was
a
a movie.
girl because if it's an action movie, I probably didn't see it.
I hope you have seen it. Somebody help me out. It's the movie where he was. I think it was called Limitless.
Nope, didn't see it.
Well, in the dog on it, it was a movie where he was kind of like this, downtrodden loser figure whose girlfriend was cheating on him, and he was kind of, not very smart, but he bumped into a cartel who was making a pill that that accessed 100% of your brain,
Damn.
and you took the pill,
I don't want that. I'm already
you could
having
learn.
enough troubles with the brains that I got released.
Yeah, when you pop the pill, you could like speak different languages and shit. It made you perceptive. When that Adderall, that shit, I would be reading them books, and I would be like reading them law books, sir. We call them horn books. They're boring as fuck. They read like the Holy
Yeah,
Bible
Professor, it's called
and
Limitless. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
limitless. No, you good,
Why is
bro.
it that I
That's
hate
how Adderall felt to me.
why do I hate action films but love horror movies? There's action in there when the people are screaming and trying to get the hell away from whatever that's chasing them. What's the deal?
Well, horror hits another part of your brain. So maybe you like that whole primordial thing of being
But
scared.
I don't get scared. I'm trying to get scared. See, I'm an
Oh,
expert horror movie watcher, so therefore, I'm trying to see if you can scare me.
oh.
See,
Did the Exorcist scare you?
yep.
That shit scared the fuck out of
I
me.
also like to be creeped out, like on The Omen or Orphan. I like to feel like, oh wow, that was out of the side pocket.
I was my freshman year in undergrad. It was a movie. And this off topic, y'all. Forgive me, but Wani reminded me of this. It was a Japanese movie that it was the movie. It was
The
called The Ring
Ring.
or
Oh
some
my
shit where they
God,
watch.
that's creepy.
I I fucked around and watched that shit by myself in my dorm room. Wasn't nobody around, and I was like, man, I ain't scared of no goddamn movie. I'm grown as hell. I popped that shit, and man, I was so scared. I thought she was gonna crawl out that TV and get me,
Oh my
man.
God. What about the other one? Oh, yeah, see, those are the ones. Those are the top ones that are they're scary and creepy. That is the best combination.
Scary and creepy. So, back to the misrepresentation of FBAs. I would like to believe that we have learned our lesson, and we got to keep these people from saying we. So, I used to date a really beautiful girl that went to Howard Law School, and she would say some shit. When people would say we, she would always say, "Who is we?" Can we put that in our lexicon, ladies and gentlemen? My dear foundational Black Americans, can we do that? When people get up and start speaking and say we need better laws on immigration, can we say who is we? Just to clarify, is we am I are you one of us? Because we ain't we. Shirley Chisholm was not a we. She was a they. And Shirley Chisholm fucked us royally with that ideology. And in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Shirley Chisholm's ideology is what you saw playing out. Due in no small part to her, you saw the ideology of people bragging about abortions. That's part of Shirley Chisholm's legacy. The hell with her for that. Moving right along. So back to on feminism. I since we're talking about Shirley Chisholm, I identified in my studies that I didn't know if y'all knew this. Do y'all know that uh, the feminist movement in the Black community was in no small part orchestrated and manufactured out of I don't know if I should say the college on a recorded space, but let me put it to you this way: out of a small college in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh shit! So basically, two Caucasian females showed up at I'll tell you which one it is without saying it. At a small female women's college in Atlanta. Got it. And looked for recruits to spread feminist ideology to. Found one main one and trained her up real well and let her train the rest of her cohorts into feminism. So um, my purpose is just to let y'all be aware of these tactics and how our beautiful community has been infiltrated and fact patterns to look for and to watch out for. Um, the college that I'm referring to that I didn't name was funded by David Rockefeller. Um, Dr. Howard Zinn says Negro colleges in the South. No, I'm sorry. Dr. Howard Zinn says the Rockefellers had always been financial patrons of A. He didn't say A, I said A. The Urban League and a strong influence in black education throughout their support of Negro colleges in the South. Did y'all hear what I just said? I said that the Rockefellers had a financial interest in historically black colleges in the South. So let me ask you something, class. Do you think the Rockefellers may have wanted something for their money? That's just food for thought. You don't have to answer. Dr. Zen says David Rockefeller tried to persuade his fellow capitalists that while helping black businessmen with money might not be fruitful in the short term, it was necessary to shape the environment in which business can continue earning a profit for 4, 5, 10 years from now. With all of this, black businesses remain infinitesimally small. So on the Rockefellers infiltrated black colleges, black schools of business to basically bribe the professors not to train foundational black American children how to be good at business. Did y'all hear what I said? This is called misrepresentation. And I bet every last one of y'all can guess what most of these professors look like at historically black colleges and the schools of business. Do you think they're foundational black
Mm-mm.
American? Gold star goes to Wani. They ain't us.
Yeah, they have to be rooted out. Like I said, we need to audit these people and say, oh, well, you might be hiring people that are melanated, but you don't have any Black American people here. If you start calling them on it and doing audits of exactly who they are hiring and outing them, it will make people very uncomfortable. They won't be able to use these foreigners as employees that are representing us. So that's why the delineation continues and the deportations continue, and I hope we get it together very soon. I hope we can get these deportations going ASAP. California would be empty though, so I would be in a ghost town.
Yeah, come on, Wani. Come on, come on. I'm not gonna tell you to come to
I'm
ATL. I'm
moving.
still trying
I'm
to.
going to move. No, I'm going to move. This is a foreign
Wani,
country, so yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm still looking.
I see you kind of like in. I see you maybe in some, kind of like Alabama, like Mobile,
Alabama.
one of them rich. Yeah, one of them little rich. One of
Couldn't
them
take
little.
my
I could see you with a
accent.
little. I could, I could see you with one of them umbrellas and sipping a mint,
Oh,
mint
me and
julep.
Juliet.
Mint julep. That's what we drink down there. My accent comes out sometimes. Dr. Zen said the largest black corporation, Motown Industries, had sales in 1974 of $45 million, while Exxon Corporation had sales of 42 billion. The total receipts of black-owned firms accounted for 0.3% of business income. Ladies and gentlemen, it was kind of convoluted what I read, but I'm gonna break it down. What Dr. Zen just said about the Rockefeller Foundation is the Rockefeller Foundation infiltrated historically black colleges and warped their business model to make absolutely fucking sure that black business did not, what am I trying to say? Did not become, what do you call it when the neighborhood, when it benefits the neighborhood? Um, um, they wanted to make sure that the black business model did not become self-sufficient. They didn't want something to start that could be control that could be self-sufficient in the black neighborhood. They wanted business to be small. They isolated it to what do you call it? Entertainment. And so what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, in brief, and I'll shut my mouth, is a lot of the failure in our neighborhoods comes from outsiders. It comes from misrepresentation. And according to Dr. Howard Zinn, this shit goes straight to the top, ladies and gentlemen. This goes to a one David Rockefeller. Now, before somebody puts a hit on me, that comes from Dr. Howard Zinn's the people of the United States. That wasn't my my original thought that comes from the dear Dr. Zen. So, second part of the topic: who is sending these people to us? Well, we read a couple of things earlier. Um, we read Dr. Zen identified COINTELPRO, so that insinuates a government organization. In J. Edgar Hoover, the head of a very popular three-letter agency, said, and I'm paraphrasing him now. Y'all can fact check me on this. Matter of fact, please do. He said the number one priority is to stop the. Somebody help me out. Was it the rise of a black messiah? Um, so we were targeted. We're targeted by these top shelf. I mean, an elite, prestigious um, uh, government agency, right? We were also targeted by an elite, prestigious trillionaire. So my question is, and I'm asking, I'm really curious, why um why were these elite groups so focused on us when we were, low SES as socioeconomic status, you know, just in the ghetto? Why were they focused on us? Could it be with have something to do with our potential? Dr. Howard Zinn talks about an A. Philip Randolph, somebody who nobody talks about. Wani, could you tell us a little bit about A. Philip Randolph?
No, I don't. I don't know enough to give a to give a speech.
I thought you I thought I'm tripping. I thought you talked about him another day. A. Philip Randolph uh, uh, was created the AFL-CIO convention about the civil rights movement, and basically he started to organize us. Like we were starting, we never needed thing. And I want money. I'm a capitalist, and I'm gonna get my money one day somehow. But I'm just saying, our power comes from another source, and I think we kind of proved it the other day with this protest vote. Our unity is very powerful. Now, I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I know how that works. I just know that it does. I know that when we come together as a team, some magic starts to happen. When we come together and decide we want to do something, sparks start to fly. Does anybody know how that mechanism works?
Um, no, still working on that. But that magic is, I'm getting close. I am getting close. I'm going to determine where that magic is because it's just not in everyone.
No, it's not. Our
You
brother
know,
Tariq Nasheed called. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just wanted to say this before. Remember that terrible room I was in, and they were so depressing, talking about the abortions they were going to do? They
Oh
said
my
that
gosh, yeah.
they said that a guy came in the room and told them, "You need to join FBA." They said, "Get a grip." You're, and they were like, "We don't have a home. We don't have a home. The white people want the Democratic Party back." Oh, you should have just heard it. It was a complete disaster fest. Well, you need to go hang out with FBA. I was like, really? Don't send them over here. They're screaming about giving themselves abortions. So they're not black girl magic at all. But there is something special when we get together. Majara spirit, perhaps.
That's
Um,
what I was gonna say. Yeah,
we we do have that, and people are scared of it. They start off by poo pooing. "Eh, you're not going to do anything. You can't do anything. You're not going to be able to change the vote." Blah blah blah. And I look at um, I see how the votes went, and basically a lot of groups shifted over to Trump. It's very interesting. A lot of groups shifted over to Trump at the same time. It wasn't one group. We definitely are responsible for our group's shift. I'll put it like that. But a lot of people did not like the way this country was going. And so they all collectively nudge just a little bit over. And it could be devastating. The Democrats may never hold power again, ever, because, yeah, that never happened before. Things happen that have never happened before.
And again, it didn't come from some outrageous budget. We didn't have to raise um $2 billion. Although if we put our mind to it, I don't think that would be a problem, you know. But us coming together just made magic happen. You know, there was a scholar that I didn't follow enough, but his name is Dr. Asa Hilliard. He was a Pan Africanist, but Asa had some really brilliant ideas. And Asa said, "We don't have any money, we don't have any property. All we have is power. That's it." And I think I understand what Asa means now. Asa means that Majara spirit. It's very powerful, you know. But the key to Majara spirit is we have to be together. That's the sauce.
Yes. Now, I heard another group trying to brag and say that they're responsible, and that was the Arabs. They are absolutely not responsible for anything. Um, they are angry with Kamala, but they also have the same fears about Trump, so they didn't really move the needle that much. But they thought they were going to, and they don't. They just don't have it. When I looked at the Latino vote, it looked like it's split like usual. They vote like white people, just split down the center. So the way that this went off is that they voted a little bit more Trump than they did before. We voted a little bit more Trump, and the white people voted a little bit more Trump, and that was enough to a landslide. It was a landslide. It was a collective, all American landslide. Get out.
Yeah, no cap. Joe, how you doing? Talk to us and educate us, please, ma'am. Can you hear me,
But I
Joe?
would still like to have more statistics. They're still
Oh,
not all
hello.
in yet.
I
Go
apologize.
ahead.
Oh, good evening. I was just I was just listening to your conversation because it is very interesting to me. Um, and I was just hearing when you were asking about why would the Rockefellers invest into HBCU? So traditionally, not just the ones in the South. I believe almost every HBCU was funded by an extremely wealthy white person. For the most part, historically. Now, yes, historically, we're the ones who would have been the ones attending, but from Spelman, as well as so many others, they're definitely funded by them. I think it is, how should I say this? It's not doing ourselves any justice to assume only, and I'm not saying you did, that they're just afraid of our potential. I know for a fact these people are aware of our history of who we are and who we are on this continent as well. It makes sense for them to control the narrative because that's what a smart person does. Your enemy is a good enemy when he knows who you are. Your enemy is a greater enemy when he knows more about you than you do. So when you
Facts.
realize that your enemy knows more about you than you do, this what makes them a better enemy to us than we are enemy to them. We're not recognizing that we're not a good enemy to call white people supreme. Calling them supreme makes them a god. So when you worship your God and you're calling him supreme, that means that you have put yourself, that you're sitting here saying that they're somehow above you. The problem with us with doing that is that we're not focusing on who the enemy is. To not understand that in the United States of America, there has always been a disparity between elite whites and poor whites has been to the detriment of Black Americans this entire time. And to say how to call white people without understanding that all white people do not enjoy the same access to being white has been to our detriment. Elite whites have been controlling poor whites, and poor whites have been hating elite whites this entire time. It was the poor white vote that got this election. It was not elitists. The elitists would actually fall if not for the poor whites being controlled by them. And when we are looking at this situation, for us to not have been understanding and known what these poor whites have been crying about, what they have been fussing about, what they've been whining about, is because they don't have access to the same type of white privilege because they don't have access to money. And that has been something that we didn't realize. To constantly be online, to constantly be calling the poor whites racist and saying they have privilege, they have been pissed about that because they have to go to work with you. They have to do the same thing. They're in massive debt. Dave Ramsey has been exposing poor, regular, average whites for the past 20 years that they have been in massive debt. And one of the
Mm.
smartest things that elitist whites have done is put poor whites in a position to make you play this whole being like the Joneses next to poor whites. You know, the difference between us and them is that we have never been able to get access to these loans the way that poor whites have been. So what they did
Facts.
was they gave them the ability to go into massive debt, but that massive debt kept them as a distance between you and them. So while we've been spending our time making it seem like, oh well, we were losing out, they didn't give us the ability to go into debt. These white people have been in massive debt, but they have been able to have the trappings of a lifestyle that we have been trying to have access to. So yeah, they've had some nice cars and nice homes, but what none of us ever realized in an on scale is that they have been in debt. The reason why they've been killing themselves because they couldn't handle it, and the elite whites are the ones who are laughing. They're laughing at the whole situation because they buffered themselves with poor white people. So if we want to call somebody an enemy, you need to know what your enemy is doing, what his worries are, what he nightmares about at night, what he dreams about at night. How can you call white people supreme but you don't know your enemy? These poor white people you go to church with, you go to work beside, that some of them are in your family. Some people are dating them, the secret daters and having sexers with the poor whites. You never found out that you should have been intercepting and you should have been finding out what was going on with them. This vote should never have been a surprise to anybody. There's no reason to be upset about it because they were already here. They have been sick and tired. Go on YouTube and see these people have been making all the body cam videos. You know who poor whites are extremely mad at right now? And the reason, and one of the biggest reasons they were never going to vote for Kamala is because of black women. And I don't say this to be disrespectful to our people, but poor whites, average whites can't stand black women. Not because of the potential of what they believe that you have and you can take over the world. No, no, none of that. The simplest things is because you have been annoying them. They have been hearing black women be the most annoying group of people, and I'm not saying this in any other way except plainly as I can. They have been hearing black women complain, hearing black women talk about black men. And to think that white men were not noticing you shit talk your own men is one of the most detrimental things that black people could have ever been not noticing. Is that no way were white men, you look at the videos, there are black women who are going to harass white men like, oh, I can't wait till she gets in office. When that woman gets in office, I'm going to be on your ass. You think that a white woman or a white man was going to vote this woman in and let you do an AKA stroll through their neighborhoods or through their lives? They were not about to deal with that. They had seen that the first time when Joe Biden won. They did not like the representation of it. It was pissing them off. They love these body cam videos. I'm telling people, you got to know who your enemy is. They have channels, tons of thousands of them, where they are loving to put down that they cannot wait till the cops have an interaction, not with black men, but with black women. And they have
Mm.
been pissed off. And I'm saying this passionately because I want our people to wake up and understand what is happening here. We have women who were praising Travis Kelsey for dating a tether, mind you, and you're upset about it when he went to date Taylor Swift. And yes, this is all intertwined, absolutely. White women was hearing that you were telling them after poor white women was complaining that they daddies want shit, they brothers want shit, they uncles want shit, they granddaddies want shit, they husbands want shit, they sons want
Well,
shit. Excuse my language,
well,
I
if I if
apologize.
Hey, Joe, if I may back you up,
Go ahead.
when you were saying that, I thought about something Dr. Howard Zinn said about that. Dr. Zinn said, quote, "The need for slave control led to an ingenious device. The device was paying poor whites, themselves so troublesome for 200 years of Southern history, to be overseers of black labor and therefore buffers for black hatred." Dr. Zen also says religion was used for control. So, and this is gonna piss people off, but this is historical. A large portion of the church was used for control, in conjunction with poor whites. So what Joe is saying on his face is actually true. It was an elite um,
But the
type of
problem
movement.
is that yes, white people are poor trash for the most part, and only a handful of people do have money and they are controlling things. However, those poor white people have a lot of vitriol and act just like white supremacists that we complain about. I don't see a difference.
Yeah, and that's the design. That it's been designed that way. It's been designed to make them, the poor whites, think that one day they're going to be like the elites, which is just not true. True, two true Stacia, talk to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I mean, regardless of how poor they are, they're still a problem. They still have the power to weaponize their whiteness against us, regardless of how poor they are. They look at us and have looked at us for a long time, especially when Reagan started that whole welfare queen. They look at us as people who lay up and have babies and get thousands of dollars from the government, lay up on welfare and have a bunch of kids out of wedlock. They have their beliefs about us. So, I mean, at the end of the day, as Tariq always talks about $1 million worth of whiteness, you know, even if they don't have it in cash value, they still have it. They still have it. You
Yeah,
saw that with Kyle Rittenhouse. That Kyle Rittenhouse didn't come from any money. He went out and he, shot and killed people who were allegedly protesting violence against black people or the BLM. They raised millions of dollars for him. He became a hero to them. I mean, it's I honestly, I mean, I get the whole poor white thing. In fact, I think even Martin Luther King spoke about, like, in one of his books. He said that when he was in jail, he stopped one of the correction officers and he asked him, bro, a white man, and he said, "Do you fare any better than me?" He was talking about monetarily and economically, and he said, "No, not really." So it's like the whole, poor whites versus elites. They're all problematic for us. It's kind of like the person who owned the plantation versus the overseer versus the white person who even worked next to us getting paid in the fields. They all had a higher standing and a better standing than us. Um, and that's a fact. But I mean, as far as like antagonizing poor white people or whatever, I absolutely don't agree with that. But they've always had a delusion about us being lazy, about us getting all these handouts that the majority of us don't get. I mean, the majority of us go to work and work
We're
hard
the
every
ones
day.
on welfare. They
Right.
are the number ones on welfare. So you said that we black women are bothering poor white people. You sure it wasn't Jamaican women who get
Elaborate?
on there?
You want me to elaborate on that? Because I'm the one who said it. My name is Joe, and I'm the one
Yeah,
who said that.
I
And
do because
I
the
didn't
only
say
time
bothering. I didn't say bothering in
you
the way
said
that you're
we're
saying it. Yeah,
annoying, you say
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
annoying. We're in
Yes,
our
and I
fucking
don't mind explaining
country.
that. I don't mind explaining that.
We're in our fucking country uh fighting for civil rights. And if that's annoying to white people, I don't give a damn. So that's number one. The only people I see bothering white people are Caribbean women that want to have sex with their men. Okay? They are very focused on white boys. First of all, they don't like white women because that's competition. So they make comments about white women. I have never seen us in mass doing that. focusing on white boys, mad at white women. I don't even pay attention to white people unless they come in the room and want to get roasted. I don't know what you're referencing. Us talking about our needs in our country trumps them. They came on, they're Ellis Island immigrants. I don't care what they don't like. I don't care what they don't like. So could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
Who is bothering these white boys you speak of?
Well, as I said before, they find it annoying, and I understand. Let me just
Who
make sure I'm.
cares? I find them annoying.
So I
Now
find them
what?
annoying too, but do you mind if I say what I'm going to say? Because I think the emotional side of it doesn't matter if you what you and I
You're the
find
one who's
annoying.
emotional
No,
though.
I'm not emotional.
You're
I just
giving
don't. I
a
don't.
passionate
Okay, you
plea
got
for
it.
us to shut the hell up and stop
I
annoying white
haven't said
boys.
that one time, so
And
I
we're
don't know why
not
you're being
doing it. I don't
antagonistic
even
toward me.
see us
I
doing
haven't
all
said that
this
one time.
annoyance of
You're
white boys.
you're being extremely antagonistic towards something that I'm not qualifying. I'm just saying it is what it is. I don't know what's the need to be upset with me for. I'm just saying
Why
what it
can't we have
is.
the white boy come in and tell us we're antagonizing?
The
Why are
the
you
white
doing
people
it?
do be coming in, and I listen.
No,
I come
why
into
are
these
you
rooms just
saying
like
it?
you have.
My
White people
question
are
is
always
this.
telling us that they're tired of
My
us. I don't
question
know
is
what you're
this.
talking about.
My question is this. Why are you passionately telling me about
Why am
how
I
we're
passionately telling you
bothering
what?
white boys, which we're not doing? They come and bother
I
us.
passionately told us that we need to be aware that if we're calling them our enemy, we need to know what's going on with our enemy. I said we need to be aware of them. That
You
was what I
know a
said.
lot
Don't
about white
misunderstand
people.
what I said. Don't
If
misunderstand what I said, man.
okay,
Because I'm very aware of what I said,
if
and I know
black
I did not say
Americans
that
didn't
I'm passionate
know,
about white people. I said we need to be aware of our.
if black Americans did not understand white people, we would be dead. So we do understand them enough to survive them. I know I do.
So I'm just asking because you asked me to explain, but then you muted me. So I don't know because I don't
You
want to argue
kept
with you,
going
sister.
crazy.
Because if you want to allow me to explain, I'll explain. But I'm not the one to sit here and go back and forth. So you can tell me that I'm wrong, tell me that I couldn't offer anything for, it, but then not let me explain. That's something that ignorant people do, and I said we're smarter than that. We don't have to do that crap to each other. Now, as I was saying, the reality is despite the fact that we are or can be annoyed with them and they can be annoyed with us, and I don't have to care how they feel, and I don't. The reality is they still had a bigger voting base, so you can say you're annoyed with them, but they still came out in droves. No matter if all of us came out
I'm
in droves.
glad they did.
Okay, ma'am, I don't
I'm
understand why you
glad
don't
they
want to.
did.
Okay,
I would
okay,
have
thank you
paid
so
them to go
much.
out.
Thank you so much.
What's the
I appreciate it. I'm
problem?
not going to argue with you. You're right. You
What's
have
the
it. You're right.
problem with them going to vote? They're voting for what I want. What's the problem? You're
You're right. You're
upset
absolutely
about
right.
the
You're right.
vote.
I don't know. You weren't gonna let me explain, so I appreciate it. I'm not
Well,
upset. I don't know what this is
you're
a turning for.
arguing the wrong points. I'm
But what
glad
is the
that
wrong
they
place? You
got
can't
off
tell
the
me the argument
sofa.
that I should
It's
have, but you told me to explain, but you won't allow me to explain. Then you want
well,
to
you're
disrespect me
hitting the
like I did
wrong
something to
points.
you because I said
You're
words.
hitting the
You
wrong
know that this is what
points,
people say
and I
about
think
us.
it's
That
personal.
I said words, and you think you have the right to disrespect me, and that I should sit for
How am I
disrespect.
disrespecting you?
Because now you're trying to talk over me. You're trying to tell me what I should say, and you put words in my mouth. You know that's what they do to us each and every day, but you're doing it to me because you did not like words that I said. They're words, ma'am. You weren't going to let me say my piece because you're upset of what I said, but you won't let me explain so you can control the narrative.
Hold
I'm
on.
not the
I
one to
think
get
we're
upset with someone
I,
telling me what the narrative should be.
I think we're getting lost in context here. So Wani, what's your question? Because I
She
kind of got
seems
lost with
upset and
context.
she keeps saying that that's why they went over there and voted like that. Good. You're in the wrong
Yeah,
room.
okay, I see what you're
You're in
saying.
the wrong room.
So
I'm glad they went to vote like that. Continue voting
so
for the country to
But
be
that wasn't my
better.
point.
Joe, quickly, what's your point? I think we may be getting lost with your context on your point. What's your
The
point?
question she asked me was, what did I mean by we were bothering white people? And all I said was that these people were bothered by the representation of if they had voted in this woman that has been categorically being called black, right? Because I'm not saying that we did this. Her party, the Democratic Party, went out of their way to make sure that they started this claim that she was black. Am I wrong or am I wrong? And the reality was, when they did that, they purposely did that so they can go ahead and constrain the black vote. The black vote that they constrained immediately was the black female vote. The problem with that is that they were already annoyed with us from the whole Black Lives Matter movement. It had nothing to do with the fact that Black lives couldn't matter, because they absolutely do, but it had something to do with the representation of who was controlling Black Lives Matter. And even though we know it was tethers, even though we know it was people who were stealing money, sending it to their siblings in Canada, and buying homes and things, that doesn't matter when we're looking at the whole entire confluence of what it is to be black. And they were taking it as these black women are complaining about racism, but then you have ALC and you have every single.
Well,
Go
well,
ahead, go ahead. You're right.
thank you. Yeah, now I see Wani's point. Like, yeah, that all that may be true, and I'm not being condescending. I'm just being honest. All that may be true, but what's the problem? Like, everything worked out like it was supposed to. It backfired, and we came out victorious. So, I guess we're kind of struggling to see the issue. Yeah, what they did was fucked up. It was wrong, but it backfired on them. So, the hell
Yeah,
with them.
and honestly, poor whites have always hated us. When we worked for free, they hated us then too. During slavery, they hated us. During Reconstruction, they hated us. Under Jim Crow, they hated us. Before social media, they hated us. Poor whites have always hated us. So, regardless of the new technology or context or whatever algorithmic hole they go down based on what videos they're watching, it really doesn't matter because they're always going to find a reason, period. They always have.
Oh yeah, and a lot of vitriol, as our brother Tariq Nasheed exposes. I'm so glad he does that. It comes from Joe Biden. We forget that Joe Biden is from this lineage. Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, how could these new Irish immigrants, themselves poor and despised, become sympathizers with the black slave who was becoming more and more the center of attention, the subject of education in the country? Indeed, most working class activists at this time ignored the plight of the blacks. Eli Moore, New York trade union leader elected to Congress, argued in the House of Representatives against receiving abolitionist petitions. Dr. Zen lastly says, racial hostility became an easy substitute for class frustration. And there it is. That's the issue that's the crux of this argument. Racial hostility is a easy substitute for class frustration. And let me break down what that means. That means, let's look at the Irish. They coming from a place where they were hungry and made fun of, despised, and they starved to death. And they came over here. They were ashamed, and it was easier to look at the blacks and say, "Look at him," than to fix their own problems. And that repeats over and over and over again. We become some type of damn scapegoat. But to Wani's point is, the shit backfired on them. So the hell with them. Carrie, talk to us.
Yeah, you can look back in a lot of these writings where the Irish will be complaining that we were making fun of them. Oh, we were talking about their clothing or the way they were speaking English or didn't speak English. And these are the kind of things that they would say while we were actual slaves, loading a ship or something. They would be literally complaining and writing it in journals. Oh, the blacks, they were looking at us and stuff. And if you look a little bit deeper into a lot of these railroad things, because they're writing, they wrote themselves into our history back then too, the same way they're doing with the hip hop. They're just writing themselves in there, and they're guilty, and they feel guilty for doing that, and they know that the stories that they tell are, there's holes in those stories. They act like that. They act like someone's going to suddenly uncover something, but they've been doing that, and we're just like a little chew toy that they could just savage whenever they're bored, or they do something stupid, or what I'm saying, because like when the Haitians and the eating the cats thing happened, everybody just savaged us online, and then so that's what they've done for a long time. I'm glad that white people helped us and put Trump in there, because there wasn't a lot of our vote for him, but it was a nice break. It was a nice break. And so I say thank you very much. They did their job. We're caring about the country. We're not trying to hear anything with the women and the men and all this identity, intersectionality, all that stuff is bunk. Okay. That stuff is really negative. And so it'd be best if people, when they're talking about us, talk about families, talk about, the people. It's not women, it's not men. This is that time is over. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie, and that sums it up. Which I think our sister Wani was basically saying, if I paraphrase her, is that's the way it went. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, racial hostility becomes an easy substitute for class frustration when these groups are hungry as hell. Can't to quote our brother Tariq, failing in their homeland, running over here without a shirt on their back. They come over here and instead of dealing with their issue, they focus on us because, like our sister Carrie was putting made real clear, we have always been a historical scapegoat, but not now, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this week, and for the last several months, we've taken a stand. We've come together as a family, and we are no longer the punching bag. That ain't us no more. And they losing their shit. That's why they're losing their shit, because you can't do that to us no more. We won't tolerate it as a group, and I love it. In conclusion, racial hostility will no longer be an easy substitute for class frustration. These motherfuckers are gonna have to deal with their class issues on their own. Like our brother Tariq say, they gonna have to hold their own nuts. Our story. Talk to me.
I just want to say something.
Hi. I was
Oh, go ahead quickly,
Oh,
Wani.
no,
oh
And then our story.
just real quick. Did you know that black men voted for Trump 34% in Texas?
wow.
34%. The Democrats are done. They are done.
Yep. Yep. And before we go to our sister our story, Wani uh prompted me. I can't let that go. I gotta put some history on the Democratic Party. And let me say something straight. I am solution oriented. I'm a policy guy. I don't give a damn about a party. They like street gangs. I don't, whatever.
Yep.
But I want for some reason, my granddaddy, who I love dearly, I miss him. Used to tell me the Democratic Party is a black man's party. We were brainwashed into thinking they were our friends when they never were. Let's look at Dr. Claude Anderson in his masterpiece, Dirty Little Secrets. The hidden book. Dr. Anderson tells us of why black people were flipped Democrat. What we have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is after emancipation. Uh, 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 in the Lincoln administration, Abraham Lincoln administration, rules and laws were being passed to help us, and that was a slippery slope that may need to be a whole space in itself. But the point of the matter is, the black man and woman was on the rise. We got Reconstruction because we got rid of a Dixiecrat. The Dixiecrat Party became the Democrat Party. That Dixiecrat's name was Andrew Johnson, who was hell bent. Number one, let's talk some shit and swallow some spit right quick. Andrew Johnson, a Dixiecrat, is rumored to be a founder of the fucking Ku Klux Klan. What that mean? Anyway, Andrew Johnson was trying to reverse. He successfully reversed Special Field Order 15, which I'll talk about in another space, and he was trying to reverse emancipation. But our ancestors, our great big mamas, our great great granddaddies, got rid of Andrew Johnson's ass and replaced him with a Republican named Ulysses S. Grant. That Republican gave us or made it possible for us to have Reconstruction, which is arguably the best time in our history, right? But how did we get flipped Democrat? Listen closely, because I'm about to tell you. In 1912, when we were rising, when we had all these neighborhoods like Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Greenwood, all these beautiful neighborhoods, all these schools, Tuskegee being finalized, Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, let me say that shit one more time. Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, needed a way to flip us from the Republican Party because it was doing us too well back then. Now, neither party gives a shit about us, but the Republican Party was easier to manipulate than the Democratic Party. According to Dr. Anderson, Woodrow Wilson needed the black vote to win in the presidential election in 1912. He needed us, right? So, in a formal statement of blacks, Wilson said, I wish to see justice done for the colored people in every matter, and not just mere begrudging justice, but justice with liberality and cordial good feelings. Wilson further stated, I want to assure them, the Negroes, that should I become president of the United States, they may count on me for absolute fair dealing for everything by which I could assist in advancing the interests of their race in the United States. That shit sounded like don't vote for me if what did that fool say? If you ain't black, what did Biden say? Um, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Same game. So last but not least, Wilson. I'm gonna skip around, but Wilson, once he got in office, Dr. Anderson says after Wilson won the election, Congress drafted and sent to the president for his approval the greatest flood of new laws that discriminated against blacks that had ever been introduced by the United States Congress. That's the Democratic Party, ladies and gentlemen. The proposed laws advocated for segregation on public carriers, hotels, workplaces, exclusion of blacks from the military and federal jobs. President Wilson thumbed his nose at black people and approved for all the proposed laws that propelled black people backwards. Conditions became unbearable in the South, so unbearable that it triggered the great fucking migration. That's a Democrat did that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I could keep reading, but I'm not. Just want to make it clear that the Democratic Party, I can't think of a time when they've ever been our damn friend. But if somebody knows something I don't, please educate me. Our story.
Hi. I just had a little pushback. The young lady that was speaking earlier, she was speaking about she said something about HBCUs and how they were predominantly funded by a millionaire or something like that. That's incorrect. If you look around and if you see the title state attached to that school, that's a land grant university. And that means our taxes went to that university. And we deserve to have a higher place of learning just like everybody else. And if they didn't want to let us in their doors, we deserve to have our own doors to walk into. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say historically black colleges belong to us. That's a nerve with me, but our story is right. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I thought you were done. Our story. Go ahead and land your plane.
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I just wanted to
No, you
give a
good.
little pushback to that. And when I hear somebody say something like that, it tells me you probably went to a private university like Howard
No, I went
that
to an
did.
HBCU that was Winston-Salem State University. I don't know why we have to do this. I did not say all. I just want to make sure I'm pushing back against you because I did not say all. I want that to be understood. Let's not do that to each other where we conflate things. Of course, there are ones that were started with land grants, but there were plenty that were started by, at the time, which would have been anywhere from a Henry Ford to a Rockefeller. Yes, they did start some HBCUs. I did not take away from the fact that these are our universities. My parents went to HBCUs as well, and their parents as well. I don't understand why it had to be that way because I did not say that, and I don't want it to be conflated that I said that. You're not
Okay.
taking that away
Okay.
from us.
Well, I apologize.
No, you actually say things, and then when you get pushed back, you say
No,
what
that's
you
not what
said.
happened. You're turning around what I'm
And
saying
you're
because you don't
talking
want it
very
to be
You're
fast.
very
conflated.
I feel like
combatant. So let's calm
yeah,
down.
No, don't do
yeah,
that. Don't try to white woman
You're
me.
being,
Don't do
yes, you
that.
are.
Don't
You
do
are.
that.
You're,
be
look, you're
quiet.
on 10 and other people are on 2. So you need to bring it
Yeah,
on down.
chill out. And I don't know what your argument is. You sound like you're mad that Kamala lost, and you're trying
I'm
to
not mad
side
that
That's
Kamala
talk.
lost. I
exactly
don't
how
care
you
that Kamala
sound.
lost.
You
What?
You
are
sound
mad.
like you're mad
I
Kamala
know
lost.
Everything.
I think you
okay.
found the wrong space.
You
But
did.
I'm okay that Kamala lost. So I don't
No,
But
you're
you
understand.
not.
sound
You're
like you're
mad.
not.
You're trying
But
to
you
side
sound like
talk
you're
us.
not.
I know when I'm being
You're
side
giving the
talked.
vibes of I wish Kamala had won,
Hmm.
and we are all picking up on it, darling.
Yeah, we're not
Okay,
jealous.
I appreciate that. I don't know why I didn't vote for Kamala, so it doesn't matter. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm okay that you
It
think that.
does matter.
Like,
You're
what?
very
How does it
Oh,
upset.
hurt
but you
me?
you don't sound okay
But I don't sound okay with what?
with anything that
With
we
anything
say.
of
You
what?
sound very, very discouraged, very disheartened, and
How,
very
how,
angry, and that's
I
all
sound
we're
angry
picking
because I
up.
said
Your
words, and then
vibes are
you guys took
bad.
my
Your
words and
vibes
ran
are
with it.
bad. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Your vibes
Yeah,
are
You
totally
came
my
up
bad.
vibes
to
are
tell
bad
us that
because
some
I said
white
that
boys are
white
mad.
men were upset. I mentioned.
You came up to tell us some white boys were mad at us,
I
which we
mentioned
don't
white men
care
and you all
about.
got upset with me. I just want
You
you to
I
know that. I
sound
know.
mentioned white men and you got
immigration
upset with me
like.
because I said white
You
men.
sound
You
you
guys are
sound like you're
giving me
very
white
much
men because
worried
I
about
mentioned white men.
immigration. That's
You're
what you're giving
defending
me. You're
white men
giving me
Yep.
because I
I'm
got I
concerned
mentioned
about
white men and you got
somebody
upset with me
being
because I mentioned
deported.
white men. I want you to know
Right.
that you are getting at a black woman because I mentioned white men and you are.
It's giving
Girl,
You're
you
Shirley.
defending
sound
white men.
like
I
you're
just want you
very
to know you're
concerned
defending
about
white men.
someone being deported. Who do you love that is on the train home? Who do you love that's on the train home? That's all we want to know.
Some poor Polish boy.
Leaving, leaving. Come on, y'all. On
All
that
that
midnight
listen.
train to
On this
whatever.
woo woo. Get
You
out.
got to go. You got to go. You got to go. Hey, come on, y'all. Sing it with me. Okay, I'm gonna land my plane. Thanks.
Yeah, and that was amazing. But yeah, and the historically black college. I'm a graduate, undergrad. I got my bachelor's degree from a historically black college that I love and cherish. But the historical black college thing is both and. There are some land grants and there are some schools like Tuskegee that are not involved with any. Tuskegee was built by the hands of black men. I get emotional when I think about it. Booker T. Washington set it up to where black men were paying their tuition by building Tuskegee. And I don't know if y'all have ever been down there. It's fucking gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Black women pay their tuition by making the clothes for the professors. So you got a Tuskegee on one hand, and then you got I'm not gonna do is say name historical black colleges that are been corrupted, but it's you got a big mix of them. But as far as I'm concerned, one of my missions in life is to try to get historically black colleges back. Those of you that don't know me, I was a professor and an administrator at the historical black college in Tennessee, and what I realized during my tenure as an administrator is um, foreigners, going back to the title, are immigrant groups misrepresenting us. They're misrepresenting us at historical black colleges. They're fucking taking our schools over. Now I'm gonna tell y'all some inside information because I don't give a fuck. That was given to be by one of my professor friends, PhD from Tennessee State. She was formerly no longer at Tennessee State. They fired her because she was allegedly helping black kids. But I always wondered why seemingly students from the diaspora from Africa and the islands got preferential treatment. I just saw that. I was like, wow, why are they medical school? Some of the FBA ghetto children follow me wherever I go because I'm a ghetto child at heart. I'm from the projects. I'm proud of it. And I spent my whole career defending FBA children, and hopefully I'll die doing that. But several of my FBAs at the college wanted to be medical doctors, and I'm advocating and fighting for them, found them a venue to pay for it, whether it's military or grants. And what I noticed is the children that were going to medical school and dental school had names that weren't me. They weren't us. And I wondered why the administrators were pushing and pulling. Also, I noticed that the children from the diaspora from Africa and the island were taking all the slots in the fraternities and sororities, which, to my understanding, most of them were created for us. And I couldn't understand it, but my professor friend put it in clear light, and I have evidence to prove it. She said, "quote A lot of these students that come from the diaspora, from Africa and other places, pay tuition in cash, and that's that." And a lot of the colleges would rather see a big old fat check in cash than get a student loan. Now I'm gonna let y'all think of why would they rather get cash than a student loan. And I'm gonna land my plane. We're gonna go
Did
to Carrie and then Roger
did
Ward.
they also charge them the international student rate too, um, above
I,
residential rate?
I don't know. I never seen finances. I'd stayed in my little zone. But my professor friend said that I'm saying it without saying it. You know what I'm saying? They would write a check and their families would. Let me put it to you a better way. A lot. What we don't realize is these children from the diaspora, from Ghana and Africa and Zimbabwe, like these are like rich. They rich as hell, and their parents, when they get accepted to these historically black colleges, their parents will write checks and donate. You see where I'm going with this? And given the fact it's cash, you don't really know where that money's going, do you?
They
Shit.
also give tax breaks to the school for international students for picking, or an undocumented student. They give all kinds of affirmative sort of pushing carrot for them to have more international students in there and to pass us over. It's really bad. That really bothers me too with the education. I remember when that doctor, I think it was in Minnesota, that called us the N word and everything, all on tape and everything. And I remember nobody saying anything about that. And I'm thinking, okay, all these people are, they have these pipelines from whatever country into our healthcare industry, and they're brutes. Okay. And it's mind-boggling to me that the Democrats now, RFK said that there was no hope in the Democratic Party for anybody thinking to make us healthier or safer in the wake of COVID and stuff. So, I wasn't even sweating it. I knew he was going to win. I knew he was going to win. I didn't even pay attention. I was not worried, okay? Because I knew that there was a combination of people and things that happened that made this, I wasn't even worried. So, I felt positive when I woke up. I'm feeling good. I'm not plugged into any of these crazy people. They can cry, they can be violent, they could whatever. It doesn't matter because we told them. So, I dare them to. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Carrie. They crashing out big time. Roger Ward and then Soheem. Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, peace to the room. What's going on, Professor? What's going on, Wani?
What's up, brother?
Um, it's interesting that Wani brought up the point of how a lot of black men in Texas voted for Trump. Even though I'm not in Texas, I voted for Trump. Simply just because, and I haven't voted in the last two elections, but I felt like it was necessary because of all of the policies or lack thereof that the Democrats were introducing and how they elevated the immigrants over us. So, um, I mean, basically, my main reason is because I just felt like Trump, our main, problem is immigration in our predominantly black cities and how, they give the immigrants all of these tangibles and all these resources, and that, subsequently, excuse me if I miss speak because I have my retainer in, so like I low key got a little list, but it essentially elevates the immigrants over us, and I just felt like at the end of the day we need mass deportation because of that. You know what I'm saying? Even though here in Arizona, um, we're not as affected as much as a Chicago or New York. Um, we still have our fair share of immigrants because we are on the border of Mexico, but they aren't like removing black people from their facilities like they are in these other cities. You know what I'm saying? And housing these immigrants by using our facilities to keep them in and feed them and give them all those tangibles. And me personally, I put my lineage first. You know what I'm saying? So even though I'm not directly affected by what's going on, my family is. You see what I'm saying? So I just felt like I just had to do my part, even though I felt comfortable about Trump running anyway. I'm not a Republican, I'm nonpartisan, but I just felt like at the end of the day, these immigrants, man, they come over here, they adopt the same ideologies and mindsets as the white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and I'll say this in our land. I was a football coach for a few years, and what I hated was the fact that there were some teams that were better than us, but I liked my team against that team straight up. But I hate the fact that refs could potentially get involved as well. So it's one thing for me to play you, but I also got to play the refs as well. And that's how I see a lot of the immigrants. You know what I'm saying? So y'all come over here, you adopt the same ideologies, you become subsequent white supremacists as well. So not only do we have to fight the system, we also got to fight you along with it. So if they were to leave, what I'm saying, to get deported, we can just focus on the main problem at hand, and I'll land there.
Bro, yeah, man, and I'm a fucking break y'all heart right quick. When I was at historically black college as an administrator, I would go out on the what we used to call the yard, the quad, to see, because I mentored some foundational Black American students, and I'm not gonna name the sorority, but one of my little students who wanted to be a medical doctor also wanted to be in a certain sorority, a traditional Black sorority, and she got turned down. And I was like, why the hell they turned her down? She's cute as she wanted to be. Um, real high GPA. Just like perfect. Plays sports. Perfect. And when she wanted me to come out to watch the little whatever probate show or whatnot. And I started looking at the girls. I was like, man, these girls from Africa. And it dawned on me. It hit me. This is one of the reasons why I'm on Twitter. Because I'm relatively new to Twitter. But I was like, man, I can't believe that a foundational black American sorority picked girls that was created for black foundational black American females would pick girls that aren't even from America over a foundational black American excellent. How dare you do that? And this girl want to be a medical doctor. That my point is, we're looking at infiltration. We're looking at misrepresentation. And we got to do something about this, man. Historically black colleges are mine. They're ours. They belong to our children. They were created to ease the gap, right? So we need to defend them. They're ours. So he ain't talk to us.
How y'all doing? Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. Come on,
How
brother.
you doing, Professor? How you doing, Wani?
Doing all right, man.
And everybody else in the space. Um, so I don't know what all you guys already discussed or talked about, but I'll just hit on what something that I paid attention to. So I was looking at this infamous chart of them showing the races of who voted for who, and it's just very concerning to me because I'm looking at the first thing that jumps out is that they're saying 91% of black women voted for Kamala. And I just really question the validity of that number alone. That's a very high number. They're trying to say almost 100% of black women voted for Kamala, and that's just, I don't know, that's kind of like the whole narrative that the liberal media and just the liberal social media has just kind of pushed on, our culture, that black women are just, that is just that lopsided. I don't believe that. And so the black men, them saying that 77% of black men voted for Kamala, I don't believe that. But what's the most concerning thing for me is what's in the news now is that they're saying 55% of Latino men voted for Trump. And so, again, I don't know what's already been discussed or whatnot, but they're already trying to crowbar and take our credit and basically saying that Latinos is the reason why Kamala lost, why Trump won. You know what
Well,
I'm
Facts.
saying?
here's the issue. Um, Latinos vote like white people. They basically split their vote, so they
Hmm.
don't have a powerful vote because it's split down the center.
Right.
So what looks like happened, and I'm still waiting to get all the numbers. It just looks like everybody shifted over a little bit, and that's millions of people. So you know what I'm saying? Um, so maybe it was 50-50, but now maybe 55 or 60% did something. So that's the difference. That shows that 34% of black men voted for Trump in Texas. So we still are waiting to get the numbers. I can't see all these people loving Kamala like that. I just don't believe it myself either. I do think some of these black women though are want a little pat on the head and they feel like they're the Democrats' pet, and the way they were crying and talking about doing home abortions, I just give up on them. I don't know who these broads are. I really don't. I
Well,
don't know who they are.
I think that what's also happening, the first thing is that just like they tried to do with music, you know, they're literally already shaping up the narrative to say Latinos, like they still don't want to recognize our group as being the group that I'm not gonna say put Trump in office, but we kept Kamala out of office. I'll word it like that. We didn't put
Yes,
him
we
in
did.
office.
We told the whole world that she was a liar and bust her on every lie. And people listened to that. And that really shaped the way that people thought about her. They're like, why is this woman over here saying she's black? I have heard white people saying that is weird. Why is she saying that? And then when I say she's not, they go, yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
So
That's what I mean. And so they're already shaping up that narrative to say Latinos was the one that put Trump in office. But I think what's even more of a interesting. The irony of all that is, I don't know if you guys have seen the news today, but they are not playing with these immigrants. They already done said in New York that the mayor has already cut off the food vouchers for the immigrants there. And I just saw that the federal government just ended some sort of policy that Biden had, allowing basically immigrants to marry into citizenship. Basically, they can just get married. He had some policy called keep the family together policy, saying that they could, all they basically had to do was just come over here and marry an American citizen, and they'll streamline directly to getting citizenship. They just cut that shit out. They
Ooh.
in federal court.
Ooh.
I just read that. So when Trump say day one, his ass ain't even been sworn in yet, and they already getting to work. And I'll land there.
Damn, I saw some ladies in Massachusetts talking about, I'm not going to let anybody get deported. Ma'am, you're going to jail. They need to get hard ball on these broads. Oh, yes, you are going to deport people. Because I know you got a big clutch of freaks up there in Massachusetts, and they completely have that place smelling like urine. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to address the question. Yeah, they are misrepresenting FBAs, but I think that of course the secret is going to be delineation. That's what we just need to be doing. But they're gonna do this. They're gonna try and get people through. It's a game to them now. They're gonna be getting people from who knows where, clones. I don't know. We don't. It's some of these people we won't be able to find out where they're from, and it doesn't even matter. I think it's helpful, but if we can't, we just have to make sure that everybody knows that they're not us, whoever they are. They might get some Mark Lemoist or something, Croatian and Jamaican or something. We don't. Who cares? Just when the person's a blank, we just have to make sure that they're not us, and then we don't even need to go any farther. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
The other quick point I wanted to make, I had lost my point real quick about the immigration and the number, that 55%, is I feel like they're trying to kind of prop up the Latino community, and when they start putting them on them buses, they're basically gonna say, hey, we 55% of us voted for you, Mr. Trump. Why you ain't, we're your friend, don't make us leave. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I kind of feel like that's why those numbers are a little inflated, because they know they about to go home, and it's like, yeah, well, listen. I've been telling everybody, I can hear the zippers on the suitcase getting zipped up right now as we speak. They gotta go, and I'll land there.
Well, earlier in the speech, I mean, on the stage, we when I opened, I talked about one of the inspirations for this space are immigrant groups misrepresenting FBAs, and I wanted to kind of educate the room so y'all could tell, each one reach one and tell people where how one of the reasons why feminism was prescribed to our black females in the black female community. Came from it was sent through a non-American named Shirley Chisholm, who made it to Congress. Shirley Chisholm, who was from the Bahamas, from the islands, brought her ass over here on with an agenda, a feminist agenda. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, Shirley Chisholm said, quote, "The law cannot do it for us." Stop right there. She ain't us. Like Carrie was saying, she ain't us. She's from the Bahamas. And why did she say that? She said that because civil rights, we fought and died, got bit up in the street, shot up in the street to get those laws passed during the civil rights movement. So right off the bat, she's talking against law. The law cannot do it for us. She ain't us. She also said, we must do it for ourselves. Again, she ain't we. She also said women in this country need to become revolutionaries. We must refuse to accept the old and traditional roles and stereotypes. We must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity. whatever the fuck that means, with positive thoughts and positive action. Now, to give historical context, our females, our women and men were at an over 80% marriage rate. We didn't get divorced, and we were on the family unit was tight. Was a one solid unit, as strong as it's ever been during the civil rights movement. So I think it's mysterious that her ass shows up from the Bahamas and immediately starts targeting black American females and telling them in her own fucking words that we must replace the old negative thoughts about our femininity. What does that mean? Having a husband and loving your family, having a tight family unit was negative? It is my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, that her ass was a op. She was sent. The last part of my stage, I say, who is sending them to us? I want to know who sent Shirley Chisholm's ass to us
And they
to destroy the
always
black family.
and they always get propped up. That's what I noticed. They like, how are you all in all these positions? You're
Yep.
how? Like every time I look someone's background up that's in politics, they are just directly coming over here, planting themselves in our politics, taking over the whole demographic of the NAACP and the Congressional Black Caucus. And now all of a sudden we have to talk about hurricanes and who's getting deported and female genital mutilation and human sacrifice, for crying out loud. Everything that those people are into. Nothing about us, nothing about reparations, nothing about poverty in America. Oh no. We have to talk about everything going on overseas all of a sudden. Why? Because they're from overseas.
So is it safe to call Shirley Chisholm a tether?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to say what I've always thought because it could come back to haunt me. But when I used to learn about Shirley Chisholm in the 90s in elementary school, and the teachers would say, Shirley Chisholm was a great American, I used to always have my wonders about Shirley Chisholm. And I'm going to put a picture of her in a Jumbotron. And I wonder, can anybody in this room guess I used to think about Shirley Chisholm when I was a young man? Hold on one second. Look at this picture. Here goes a picture. What do y'all think that I used to think when I saw that picture? I'm gonna leave that one alone. Our story.
Chiming in on the Shirley Chisholm, I remember the first grade, and that's when we were introduced to Black History Month and everything, and we were writing our little paragraphs about who we admire, and writing, reading our little books. And I remember Shirley Chisholm, they say, "Oh, but she's not American." I'm like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, she's from the Caribbean." That's the first time I ever heard of the Caribbean. And then I thought, well, then she's not part of Black history. That was my automatic thought. I never
Wow.
seen her part as our history. I'm sorry, I just didn't. And anytime I ever heard somebody mention somebody or say, "Oh, this person's from here, this person's here," I would immediately look to what did you contribute? Because if you did not contribute anything that was of pertinence to me or in positivity for me, I did not count you. I did not recognize you. I did not see her as American. Therefore, I did not recognize her as part of our history. Because I'm I'm, I'm from a household where my mother and our father and our grandparents and everybody, they educated us on what happened, the real of what happened in this country. They told us the truth, and it was hurtful. And when you look at where we came from to where we are now, you value that. You value everything that they put into it. And so I'm just happy about the delineation movement on that note, because it really revealed that we had so many wolves in sheep clothing coming here, and they're speaking on what's important to where they're from. They're not speaking on what's important to us. They're speaking on, well, how can I help my people? Well, your people over there, why did you come over here? You should be over there helping your people. What you're doing is
Right.
you're using our energy, our effort, our monies, our struggle to further your cause for people who don't care about us as a whole. That's very problematic. And they wonder why the electoral map looks pretty much red all over right now. It's because everybody can feel this is not us. Everything you see in Hollywood happening, the takeover of music and everything happening. Look at BET. BET used to be something worth watching. It is garbage in the garbage can, in the dumpster, in the back of City Hall somewhere. It's just garbage. And they keep propping it up, hoping people will watch it. And it's just another ploy to say, well, this is what you really want. No. And I hope somebody from the Democratic Party is listening in on the space. They told us this is what you should represent. And we told them effectively, no, this is not us. We don't believe this. We don't buy into it. We never have. You never played a game. You weren't winning. It's over. And with as many people who set out, they haven't even tried to tackle the number of people who set out the election. Because again, somebody was talking about how many people showed up and who were Caucasian or what. Yeah, they're gonna show up. That's nothing new. Here's the fact. Here's the shocker. How many of us stayed home? Because they didn't see that coming. And they were very nervous about that number. They were terrified of the number of people who were gonna stay home. And I remember in a previous space I told you guys, look, they're not gonna get Georgia. They're not gonna get Michigan. I can tell you that now because of the conversations I have been having. Those people, and they're educated black women, educated. And they already said, I'm not going. I'm not gonna bother. I'm gonna leave it in Jesus' hands. They had already made the decision. You got somebody running on abortion. This is not a top area of concern for foundational black Americans, okay? It's just
Preach.
not. We don't care about that. Close your legs. I'll go get it done. That's on you and Jesus, okay? That's between you and the Lord. That ain't got nothing to do with the rest of us.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
that was never a top concern for us. Economics was, okay?
we're more
So they
concerned
got their
about
wake up
dying
call.
during childbirth. Dying during childbirth is what we're more concerned about than
Amen.
abortions.
Thank you. We're worried about healthcare being treated properly within the medical space. That's what we're concerned about. We're worried about somebody treating us with respect and actually listening to our concerns. And when we say we're in pain, they actually believe we're in pain and we're not superhuman. We're worried about things like that. And you gonna bring it down to, well, abortion. Well, girl, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to learn to keep your dress down, okay? You don't have to do that. I don't care. But like I'm saying, I'm just so glad for the delineation movement because it really shined a spotlight on what, like Wani was saying, who has been speaking for us, and they're not speaking for us. They've just been our representatives propped up time and time again. And as far as these idiots they have who are part of the Boule and the Divine Nine, a lot of these people aren't even like their lineage isn't from here. And then the rest of them, they're
That's
just
what
trying to hang on for dear life and keep a check coming.
That's what I was saying earlier when I was at a college, historically black college in Tennessee. I mentored a group of my some of them weren't even my students, but they were undergrads that wanted to be in medicine. I was trying to be an advocate to make more medical doctors. There's a reason for that. I was on a grant researching COVID-19, and I was responsible for the congressional report under Congressman Steve Cohen, a Democrat. But when I was going out to do my research, I realized in the there were no foundational black American physicians, barely any in fucking Mississippi Delta. And I said, why don't we have our own doctors? So I went on a mission to try to create some. And I found out that those slots were going to kids from the diaspora. But my point of bringing this up, as you just said, a lot of the Divine Nine weren't us. When I graduated in college in the 2000s, in 2000, in the early 2000s, um, I undergrad. It used to be just black people, but what I noticed at this college is that one of my FBA students that wanted to be a medical doctor wanted to pledge a sorority. That was her dream, and she didn't make it. This girl was on a track to be a physician. She was serving in the military. I mean, just an excellent young lady. Played sports, and got turned down by the sorority. And when she wanted me to come out and watch the yard show, probate show, whatever they call it. And about half them girls was from Africa. And I thought to myself, foundational Black American sorority really would pick an outsider over a young lady who you were designed for. This shit's getting out of hand, people. Midwest, talk to us. Midwest, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, I thought you said when you saw Shirley Chisholm the first time, you thought she was a dude
Yeah,
because I see that strong.
I wasn't
She
gonna
got that
say it.
strong jawline.
I wasn't gonna say it, man. I thought that when I was a little boy, and Wani reminded me when she was like early in the space. Wani was like, "Why would she even want to? What was it to her?" Or something Wani said about why. What's her motivation about? And I thought about what I thought when I was a little boy. I used to look, and I mean no harm, but when I was a little boy in the elementary school, I used to say, "Who is that dude with a wig on?" I really thought that, and that's the picture right there that I used to
They
look at.
never can get their wigs right in these foreign countries. What is the problem? Is
No,
it the head?
no, he's too handsome. He's too handsome. That's what it is.
Oh,
You
okay.
need
Okie dokie.
that was a joke. That was a joke.
No, they said that she was accused of being a dyke was the word, and that her husband is gay. So if she has those issues going on, she might be gay. People were more discreet then.
And then up in there destroying our family structure, telling women that they need to be. Oh, that just drives me crazy because young people, what we need, and I analyze this stuff for a living, and I'm looking if it's one thing, if I had a genie and it's one wish I could ask for my people from the bottom of my heart, I'm kind of tied between reparations, getting us our money. But real talk, ladies and gentlemen, if I had a genie, I almost would ask that our families become intact. Our family's been destroyed, and it's been intentional. And to watch this fucker come in our midst from the goddamn outsider targeting my family, that just makes me red hot. So him and then True Station.
Yeah, the guy just hit on it. I was just gonna answer the question that you had made, Professor, about Shirley Chisholm. You gonna think I'm playing, but when you first put that picture up, I thought that was like a AI picture of Dave Chappelle with a wig on or something. I don't know what it. I was like, but no, what's so crazy about that? I'm gonna get deep real quick. She didn't have any children. She didn't
Uh-oh.
have no children.
Here we
I did my
go.
research. I'm trying to get on your level,
Mhm.
Professor.
Oh.
I did my research. She never had children. So that's I think
And
that's
she
something
had
to
two husbands.
I think that's something to pay attention to because I'm like, okay, if she had a child and but I don't know, y'all. I mean, if it quacked like a duck, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, because I'm a 90s baby, so I ain't really know. What's so crazy is I just kind of found out about Shirley Chisholm maybe a couple days ago, just some random post. I've heard her name, but I didn't know exactly what she did. I do my history, but I didn't know about her specifically. But yeah, I saw a quick picture of her when she was like being sworn in or whatever. And I even saw that picture and she looked a little strong. But this picture that he got in the Jumbotron, I don't know, y'all. That's all I gotta say.
Man, you know how children be knowing shit, man. I was 7 years old. It's in the early '90s, and they I think it's about first grade, and we were learning about Black history. And I'm from Birmingham. Black history is a big thing there, and they did a big thing on Shirley Chisholm. I think I almost got in trouble for it or something. I was like, "Is that a man?" I mean, I was just like honest. I ain't mean no harm. I don't mean no harm now. That's just really what my spirit told me when I was a child. You know what I'm saying? True Station
I'm
talk to.
looking at a picture of her now, and come on, man. Come on.
That's
I'm
a dude,
telling
ain't it, one?
Oh my God. Let me send you this picture. Let me post this
Wani,
picture.
you smell bussy juice around?
Uh,
You smell the bussy juice
I
when you
mean,
look at the
we're
picture?
talking about a receded hairline. I mean, this is too much. This is too much.
That's
Yeah.
Andrew Gillum, like time travel. He
Oh
went back
boy.
in time.
Oh, I
Not
still
y'all
have
saying
not recovered from that one. I'm still in therapy over Andrew Gillum. That was too much.
not us putting together that Shirley Chisholm was spreading pussy.
Yeah,
Hey, Tariq was the first one I ever heard say it was bussy juice all on on the
It
bed
was an
stains and the sheets.
explosion. It was a complete disaster fest. And they called the ambulance and the police after they did all that. Uh. He's about to
At the
die.
oh Lord.
He really had a good time in there to the point of death. Damn.
Wow. True
yeah,
station. Talk
yeah.
to us.
Honestly, when I was a kid, when I saw Shirley Chisholm, I thought the same thing. I'm like, why does the face look like that? It looks like, like almost like a Medgar Evers or somebody. But honestly, if she did marry a person who was gay or whatever, she wasn't going to make it into politics as a single woman. So you could forget about that. But the whole feminism and, abandoning like traditional femininity, it's like when you look at a lot of these revered black feminists like Audre Lorde and Angela Davis and Nikki Giovanni. More recently, Roxane Gay. They're all lesbians. All of them are lesbian or identify as queer. All of them. So, you kind of have to really pay attention. And some of them they weren't they used to be married to men. I know Angela Davis was married to a man. Audre Lorde actually married a white gay man at one time. So you just really have to look at these people and try to understand their motive as to why they want us to, particularly women, and actually they target black women to separate or evaluate so-called feminism the way they do. And I'll land there.
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and there's a book to be written on Birmingham. It's one of the first places in the country that had had a solid black upper middle class, and there are reasons for that. Namely, the white quote unquote white population were all came from the Georgia corporation, so they were like the criminals, and they were low class, and we were right, and we were emancipated. And what Birmingham had was Sloss Furnace. It was a steel mill, big time steel mill. Matter of fact, Pittsburgh stole it. That's the joke between Pittsburgh Steelers is they stole it from Birmingham. But that steel mill, a lot of black men worked at that steel mill, and back in the day, black men it was balling out of control. They bought mansions and shit, and they. But anyway, long story short, the neighborhood, my neighborhood, Smithfield, downtown, my mama's neighborhood, it's a street that cuts it in half called Center Street, and Center Street goes up the hill. So where we're from, at the bottom of the hill, right across the street from the projects, is a low class part. But as you walk up Center Street, it's crazy. The more incline you get in the hill, the richer it gets. At the bottom of the hill where it starts, you got school teachers. You go up a little bit, you have the used to have the principals and the nurses. You go up to the middle of the hill. Wow, I just saw that picture, Wani.
That is a guy,
You go
okay? Like,
you go to
that's a guy.
the middle of the hill. But anyway, at the very top, middle of the hill, you had attorneys and judges close to the top. And Angela Davis was at the, and I never really knew what her people did. And Birmingham's kind of color struck too, light skin meant something. The green eyed Negroes meant something, which would screwed my family because we were poor and we was light skinned, curly hair with green eyes. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of an insult. Ain't you supposed to be at the top of the hill? But anyway, Angela Davis, the women in the neighborhood, including some of my family members, looked up to Angela because they were upper class, you know. So when Angela came back from school spreading feminism, she really poisoned a lot of women in Birmingham because we followed the Davises, you know. They were a leadership class. That lady sold us out, destroyed families. Are immigrant groups misrepresenting FBAs? Yeah, but immigrant groups aren't the only ones. We got a sellout class that need to be discussed in another space.
Professor, I got a quick question for you, real quick.
Come on.
And Wani as well. What do you guys predict, like realistically, or I guess if you can give me kind of like a ballpark figure or just a range, like how many of these immigrants are gonna actually be removed from our country? Just a estimate, like, and how long is it gonna take? Is it really? It sounds like it's gonna be day one, but like how realistically speaking, like when we come down off the high that Kamala's not getting in office, she's done, she's cooked. Trump is back. He's not. He ain't talking about no tangibles, but as we've all discussed, we're getting a consolation prize with the mass deportation, which that's something we can at least put our energy into.
Deportation is job creation.
Right. So how just to for one and the professor, what are you guys predicting?
That's more of a Wani question. But what my 2 cents will be, and from a political view, Trump is going to have to do. He's going to have to get what James Brown said: get the people what they want. So I look at maybe him strengthening ICE, or maybe even creating another agency, like Wani said, creating jobs and immediately going after the low hanging fruit. So there's going to have to be some type of display of for the politics. He's going to have to do something. But in the long run, I don't know. It's a good question. What do you think, Wani?
I do not know. I did ask people what the logistics were on that. They did have an operation where they deported 1 million people um, out of here, and it was called Operation, back. And you can look it up, Operation Not Dry Back. And um, and so I don't know. I think that anybody who says we don't have the money to do it, we're going to take their money, right? Just open up their bank account and make them pay to leave. Violate their rights. They don't have any rights. They're illegally in the country. They need to go. And I don't care about anything because they brought their children over here. They threw their children over walls, over a 14-foot wall. Didn't care if they broke up their legs. They've got all kinds of trees named after raping people. And I'm done with them. They're doing anything to get here, and they're opportunistic, and they've been doing this my whole life. They have. We've heard all the stories about them squatting out babies on across the border just to be funny so they could be citizens here. And I hope that that blows up in their face. They need to fix Mexico. If Mexico is good enough for me to go on a vacation and be stunned, then it's good enough for them to stay down there in that perfect weather, those perfect beaches, and make something of it. Why are you here other than begging for welfare? Come on.
Right, and the thing is, like, it's very simple. How can you trust somebody who ran away from their homeland? Like that's you. That's a lack of trust. That's like inviting somebody into your family who abandoned their family. It's like, well, shit, you're gonna abandon me when you get opportunity, right? True State should talk to
Um, I think that he should first of all make an announcement. Hey, you can leave voluntarily. Otherwise, if we have to deport you, there'll be consequences. You won't be able to come back. Or if you do come back, we have a bill as far as the cost to deport you that you would have to pay before you can even come back. That's actually how they do Americans. Like if you go out the country and you don't have money to come back and the government has to get a ticket for you to come back, they pull your passport and you can't get another one till you pay the money back. That they had to pay for you to come back to the country. So I think whatever tracking information they have, they need to attach total bills to these people's names, numbers, whatever, or whoever they are. And if they do try to reappear, they need to, they need to, of course, if they don't voluntarily leave, I think there's like a 10-year waiting period if you get deported before you can come back or can attempt to come back. But yeah, I think they should definitely at least try to leave voluntarily. And if not, there should be a consequence if they actually have to detain you and deport you.
Well, he actually already kind of spoke on that. I think you misheard him a little bit. He meaning Trump. He said that once they are deported, because I'm not exactly sure how the catch and release works. I think that's when they get caught by ICE and then they release how it was the first time he was in office. They would catch the ICE would catch the immigrants. They also have an ICE tip line that I did not know about. They literally have a tip line where anybody can randomly call anonymously and like, hey, it's a group of Mexicans packed up over here selling watermelons in the parking lot. I don't think they legal. And you can literally call and do that. But no, I think what Trump was saying was I'm pretty sure in his policy he was saying that for this new term that once they're deported, if they come back, it's going to be an automatic 10 years in an American prison. That's what he said. So if they leave and come, they'll get deported, with no consequences the first time. But if they get deported and bring their ass back, they got to go do 10 in an American prison. And I think the next time he said is life. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And he also said all these immigrants that's been raping women and sexually assaulting women and murdering people. He was like, he's calling for the death penalty immediately for any illegal immigrant that commits any type of sexual crime or any type of murder on an American citizen. Automatic request for the death penalty.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I'm aware of that. I was just referring to if they try to come back. I know that if they deport you, and if you want to come back legally, there is a 10-year waiting period. But if yeah, he did say that if they do come back, illegally and they get caught, then they would go to prison.
Well, there it is. So, yep, that's that. Anybody else want to contribute? King Trey, talk to us.
Hey, peace, brother. Thank you for holding space. Shout out to you, your co-hosts, and the rest of the room. I just had something I want to share to the title, and I thought that you, Professor, might actually like this one. Just listening to you and the things that kind of pique your interest. But there is a study, but I think it's Eleanor Marie Brown with George Washington Law University that talks about that. Immigrants were misrepresenting FBAs, but it was definitely intentional. And it starts way back in New York City, primarily in New York State, in New York City in general, but it does cover other regions of the state where other members of the diaspora, particularly West Indians and Caribbeans, were given access to home buyership and home ownership, breaking the white monopoly that they had on real estate. And it was done on purpose, and in particular under the breaking through some of the black codes that a lot of people don't understand that exist that were Jim Crow, but just not called Jim Crow, and existed in states like New York. And allowed them to purchase property as long as they agreed to not sell it to freedmen. And it would be, in particular, the language was freedmen. And the purpose being was that they did not want freedmen to be able to create generational wealth and pass down. It was okay if they brought family over here from overseas and sold the property to them, rented the property to them, but they wanted to keep Black Americans specifically in certain neighborhoods. It's rumored that, and I can never remember her name, but the one Bumpy Johnson was working for before he took power in Harlem was a part of that power structure at one point, and most people didn't know it. Enforcing rules like that on behalf of um, working with white gangsters like Dutch Schultz and different things like that until Bumpy took over and made blackness, even in the gangster attitude, just black, and started pouring money back into Harlem and trying to move out some of those Jewish store owners that existed there and having black entrepreneurship. But it's a deep study and it's kind of dope. It's still going on, but they did release a report, and I thought you might be interested.
That sounds interesting, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the woman you were referring to was Madame St. Clair. They called her Madame Queen or something like that.
That's exactly who it was. Thank you. You're right, Madam Queen.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. All right, anybody else?
I want to ask the question. Um,
Come on,
I ran
Hill.
across this lady yesterday. I want to know if y'all know. I'm pretty sure you know. Her name is Dr. Cynthia McKinney, and I
Mm,
ran across her yesterday,
maybe.
and I binge watched a lot of her videos, and I was fascinated by the lady, and she was basically just like running down her resume, and she was basically saying that she got an A1 track record of looking out for her people, black people. And I was just wanted to ask,
Mm.
is that true? If you know it, is that true?
That name vaguely sounds familiar, but
She was
I'm
six
not
times
sure.
congresswoman. She was a part of the Green Party.
Yeah, it vaguely
She used
sounds
to be part of
familiar.
the
All right.
Democratic
I
Party,
just wanted to ask.
and out of Georgia. I remember there were some controversies or something about her back like in the early 2000s. I can't remember quite what it was, but if she's with the Green Party now, she was heavy in the Democratic Party at one time.
Was she running for?
You
Is
hear,
she
bro?
is
What
she
she running
running
for?
for an office?
Can you hear? Hell no.
Yeah, I'm here. That's all.
Can you hear
Yeah,
her?
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I just wanted to ask you that. I just wanted to see what she telling the truth about her record and looking out for black people.
Nah, I don't know her. It sounds
As a
vaguely familiar.
as
I
a
was.
congresswoman in Georgia,
No, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I think she has a public record as a congresswoman in Georgia back in the early. I mean, in the early 2000s. You can look it up as far as what she did as a congresswoman.
He was a congresswoman out of Georgia, and when they were investigating all the money that what's the guy's name under the Bush? He was secretary of the trillions of dollars was missing, and they put her out. Then she went over to India and she was teaching kids over in India. I don't know about her doing a lot for black folks, but I know that about her though.
Hmm. Hopefully that answers your
Yeah,
question, my
it did,
friend.
it did. I was just trying to see what she was saying was true because it sounded. I mean, it sounded great, but
But I do like the fact you're trying to verify her. That's what we're gonna have to get back into is verifying. I think our brother Tariq Nasheed brought this up a year ago or so. That in foundational Black American culture, if you think about the old folks used to find out who you were. In Birmingham, when you know what I'm saying, I would go off to school and stuff out of state and then come back. And I'd be sitting down, this is Birmingham, I'd be sitting down, what I'm saying, downtown, and a old man would walk up to me and say, hey, son, who are your people? And then I tell him, and he said, "Oh yeah, I knew your great uncle. That's who we are. We want to know who you are. We want to know who your people are. It's just part of our culture. We need to get back to that because we've been straight infiltrated by people who are misrepresenting us. They're sent by outsiders. And at this point, I'm not even going to say it's a fucking conspiracy. I'm going to say it's a reality that a lot of these people, including but not limited to Shirley Chisholm, were sent with a mission to disrupt our cohesion. And this year, I understand why. Because our cohesion The foundational Black American, Black woman and man sticking together for a common goal is very powerful. Look what we've done already, and imagine, ladies and gentlemen, what we can do in the future. J. Edgar Hoover in his campaign said that, and I'm paraphrasing him, but he said the number one goal was to prevent the rise of a black messiah. It's very interesting for $1 billion federal agency, prestigious federal agency, to make its number one goal to keep a brother from rising. Back to what I think it was our story said this, but somebody said it early on in the space. Our enemies know who we are, and we don't know who we are. So my question to y'all is, how can we find out exactly who we are? I'm doing some of that research. Our sister Juan is doing some of that research. But I think part of the big solution to this problem is finding out who we really are. Anybody else want to contribute?
It got real quiet.
It did. So yeah. So I was looking up the rise of a Black Messiah, and it says that was COINTELPRO in 1960s. That was the COINTELPRO motto: preventing the rise of a Black Messiah. That is fascinating.
Well, that's why we
Black.
know the only people that are getting propped up, like a Shirley Chisholm, like that woman in that Virginia governor talking about, we should get past slavery. Well, then why do you have CARICOM in your country that you came from? Why
Hello.
aren't you getting past it? Why are you up here babbling about what we should do for Jamaica? Since we don't need to talk about things in the past. That's what I'm saying. They are they're being propped up. Why are these foreigners just coming over here getting these prestigious positions? Does that make any sense? No.
No.
They're being propped up and we know it.
I have a quick point I want to make or a question. Does dating, I'll say men and women, but I'll just focus on black FBA men. Does dating outside of our race conflict with knowing who we are?
Wani, I wouldn't advise it. I think. Well, here's my view on it. You sometimes James Baldwin said some real powerful shit, and he shut it down when people were, um, it was a panel where somebody was questioning his love life choices, and James Baldwin shut that shit down. He said, "You don't choose who you fall in love with," and everybody got quiet as a motherfucker. So that's true. You don't choose who you fall in love with, but on the flip side of that equation, if you're talking about having a life partner to build your life with, a wife, a spouse, and significant other, don't you need somebody who understands your story? Our dear sister, Dr. Shaharzad Ali, talks about that a lot. She says that black men, particularly black men who get money, will quickly migrate to, or historically, that's changing, but used to quickly migrate to other, whether it's a white girl or a Hispanic girl, Asian girl, because the that other female doesn't have that legacy of the negativity that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, and therefore they seem kinder. um, to quote something my wife would say, they have more bandwidth to deal with you because their life was a little bit easier, you know what I'm saying? So they can, rub you back when you come in. Honey, what's wrong, honey? All that shit you don't get from FBA sisters because we're both stuck in a fucking oppressive system. We just got through battling the system of oppression at work, and from two whole different jobs, and then we come to the same household. I'm sorry, but most of the time we ain't got bandwidth to be like, hey, honey, what's going on?
That's
What's for
deep.
dinner?
That's deep.
You know what I'm saying? But
That's deep.
yes, Shaharzad Ali said that. I'm not even gonna take credit for it, but Shaharzad said, But it's so fucking true, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we ain't got that type of bandwidth. Like when I get home, I'm so fucking exhausted from navigating an oppressive system, and you know the shit you deal with. But
But what
I
I want,
just
but my thing too. You said you can't fall in love. Well, James Baldwin says you can't choose who you fall in love with. But but
I disagree
but
with all
but
of
what
that
I
stuff.
what I will but
come on with it, one. Go ahead, go ahead,
but what
Saint.
I will say about that is I do feel like who you fall in love with can be heavily influenced based on your environment. And what I mean
That's
by
true.
that is you look at let's take somebody like LeBron James. Both of his sons are openly dating. They either white girls or they like Hispanic and white. They not FBA. His sons are FBA, but they not FBA. You see these other players of these NFL stars and NBA stars whose children grew up in private school their entire lives because their parent, well, their fathers are famous football players, so they grew up in private schools. Most private schools are filled with Caucasian children, which would increase the level of or the potential of your black son being with a Caucasian girl just because of his environment. So with that being
Right.
said, he may have a stronger potential of falling in love with a white girl because all the girls at his school is white. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like science. That's actually true. Your environment influences you, and I think Ricky Smiley. I don't care for Ricky Smiley, but he said that shit. He said it was so true. He was like when
Where's
he went to
hold
a
up,
white
my
school,
bad,
he thought
Professor. Where is he at? Where's Steve Harvey at? Where's these brothers at? Where's the
Mhm.
where's DL
hiding
Hughley
under
DL,
a
at? Where's
rock.
they
DL
are,
Hughley at?
oh, DL, he might be dead. I don't know. He can't make it through this.
Where's these brothers at, man? I forgot all about them.
Deceased.
The checks cleared. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah,
But no, I just want to say, listen, it's like I grew up in a very white place, went to white majority school, especially primary school. I was the only black kid in my class. A lot of times, only black kid. And when I tell you, growing up like in Nebraska, I mean, I never had an attraction for them folks. I just never have. Um, it just kind of is what it is. But my thing is that if you do go that route or date whatever, you have to make sure that just because they like you or attracted to men like you, if they have vitriol for your counterpart, which would be black women like your mother, your grandmama, your sisters, and all that, and they try to like stroke your ego by talking down on black women, you need to kick them to the curb.
But I think
Uh,
I think to me, when black men date white women and when white women date black men, it's almost like a fetish. It's kind of like this thing where it's like politically we're not supposed to date them and they're not supposed to date us. And that taboo, ideology is what makes it so prevalent in society. I think personally.
But we don't, it's not prevalent though, because we marry each other 85% of the time. So I think dating is not getting married. Um, and opposites do attract, and it doesn't have to be an opposite race. It could just be, that's just something that some people engage in. Opposites attract. So I'm very neat and I want a guy who's sloppy. And then after a while, I get mad that he's sloppy. This is some kind of mental disorder. Oh, he's so disheveled and he can't get it together. Maybe I'll step in and help him to clean up his room. You see?
So you
And then he
guys
doesn't
saying you
understand
wouldn't
his
look
life.
at a foundational Black American man as if he didn't have knowledge of self if he chose to date outside of his race.
Oh boy.
uh, this
Let's
is
get
deep.
deep real quick.
We had this conversation. Um, some people are able to compartmentalize. I don't know how they do it. And again, like I think Too True was saying, I don't see them as potential dates. That's the whole thing. So I could go to school. I've gone to school with everybody. There's only a small segment of people that I saw as potential dates. So all the Asian guys, all the Latino guys, all of the white guys could pass by, and they didn't, it would be just like a horse passing by. It didn't register in my little white girlfriend. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he looks like Rick Springfield. Oh my God. And I go, yeah, he does look like Rick Springfield. Have a nice time with it. I agreed with them that Brad Pitt was cute, but I don't want Brad Pitt for me. You understand? Just like your pit bull might be cute and I might like its coat color, but I don't want a pit bull in my place. It's that kind of thing. So I can see that, people are cute or that they would think they're cute, but it's really just an orientation. If you just throw your child out there in the wind, you just take them and throw them in an all white environment, yeah, they're going to like white people. And they, well, like, what other choices do they have? But if you know ahead of time, like I said before in the other room, if you're vaccinated, you know the commercial is trying to get you to do something, or trying to or is on an agenda to not show nuclear families. That's part of the vaccination. If you know that it's beneficial for you to be with someone that has your background, and it's easier. Sometimes if your parent finds out that you're gay, or your parent finds out that you want to date somebody from another background, they might get mad, not because they don't like the person. And this is from a white perspective. If a white person gets mad because you're dating a black woman, it's not just because they don't like black people. They just don't want you to have a hard time. And you're going to have a hard time. It, that's,
Who who
if you say, hey, by the way, mom, I'm gay. Now she's getting mad. Why? Because she knows that you have just created a situation for yourself. You're a high risk. That's a high risk lifestyle. I wouldn't go so
mm-hmm.
far as to say dating a black woman is a high risk lifestyle, but it's a higher risk lifestyle than dating a white woman if you're a white man. So why would your
Yeah,
parent want you to do that?
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing drops the mic on this whole motherfucking issue. She says, but quote, to return to the issue of black defensive logic, these patterns of logic which emphasize that the existing problems are mainly between blacks are reflective of black self-hate. This self-hatred is escalated and reinforced by increasing male suicide. Dr. Wilson basically says, I'm going to cut to the chase. She says, these patterns of behavior are manifested continuously by black people to pitch themselves into possible altered cortical brain states. Let me break that down. What she's saying is, this system of oppression that we live in is so fucking outrageous. It's so intense that a lot of us check out, right? We look for ways to just check out. You know what I'm saying? And she says, these practices, of course, avoid problem confrontation. That's exactly what she means. Like, a lot of our brothers and sisters don't want to confront the problem. Like, facing this system head on is like, it's too much to even think about. So, subconsciously, you look for so many different ways to run away from it. And she says, problem confrontation and thereby prevent problem solution. Similarly, the increase in interracial marriages can be viewed as a means of escape and a means for blacks to avoid the awareness of their continuing status as permanent outsiders outside of the white chalk circle of white supremacy, numerical and genetic global necessity. It should be noted that in the white supremacy societal unit of Nazi Germany, the highest instance of interracial marriage between Semites and whites occurred just prior to its ultimate destruction of Semites in the Holocaust. So she does something. She does two different things. She shows that um, dating members of the dominant society on a subconscious level can be viewed as an escape. Like, I can't beat. Basically, if I should interpret it, I can't beat the system. I can't do it. So I might as well just go ahead and get me one, and maybe my kids will have a better chance than me. A lot of people think once they married, the dominant society, however you want to look at it, married outside of their race, they can kind of cosplay and pretend to be something else. But as Wani's put before, it always backfires. I've seen that in my family. But the last thing Dr. Welton does is really brilliant. Is she identifies um, I don't want to say that word, the turning on your race, like behaviors that are kind of um I don't want to say abnormal. I don't want to say that, behaviors that are outside of societal norms are indicative of the fall of society, and she's exactly right about that shit. I saw a podcast the other day on Joe Rogan. He had a scientist on and said some very fascinating shit. This scientist said he tracked empires that crumbled, like Rome, etc., etc., etc. And he said something we already knew, but we never really thought about. He said when empires are in their last stages, about to fall to pieces, decadence becomes advertised. Like you think about Rome, you think about the pictures of Caligula before everything fell apart. They were running around naked, eating grapes off of people, and just they were eating lavish meals. And like you want to feel good, you just want to eat stuff, you want to have promiscuous behavior. And if you think about it, that's America right now. We got food shows, people eating, showing how to eat the good food. Is eat, 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 eat. Shake your booty to the poles, right? Are we in an empire in decline? It looks like it.
Yes.
Our story.
We
Go
made
ahead,
a
Juan.
U-turn though, so we're gonna get a chance to straighten it up.
Yeah, we did make a U-turn. This is true. Our story. Talk to us.
Well, on the topic of the young man brought up as far as marrying outside your race, I think I have to agree with Wani when she was talking about, from the perspective of European Americans, is it's like taking on a unnecessary hardship. And I'm looking at, as she stated, like 85% of black women, we usually prefer to marry black men. And it should be understandable as to why, because you have to think about the road ahead if you're going to have progeny. You don't want confused children, and you don't want a confused home. You want to be on the same page. And it seems like people who marry outside their race, they have to somewhat shift their point of worldview to adapt to the spouse that they chose. And it can prove to be not beneficial for your children moving ahead. Little story. I was on a meeting call, and one of the members brought in a gentleman to speak to us about his experience in Louisiana. And he's married to a Caucasian woman. They have like 4 sons, biracial. He's Black American, and he was talking about he was on a drive. They saw this horse farm, and the kids just wanted to drive a little closer to the horses, so he drove up on the property. Now, mind you, this was a private property. He drove up on the property. He didn't see any harm to, just get a closer view of the horses. And this Caucasian man comes out with a gun, points it into the truck, and tells him, "Get the blank off of my land." Now, he's pointing this clearly in sight of children in the truck. And the guy was like, "Okay, okay, calm down." And he eased off, eased back, and he drove off. But he reported the incident, and the man who threatened him reported the incident. But the police and the sheriff's office were very familiar with the gentleman he was reporting, and they asked the Black American dude, did he want to press charges? So, but his wife, her reaction was like, "Why did you do that?" Which was not shocking to me at all. And after the call, I was talking to one of the supervisors, and she's Caucasian, and I said, he he's going to be a detriment to those kids. And she was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because he's trying to live in a fantasy world, and we live in reality." And I see a lot of these kids who are biracial, they're you see them on TikTok, they complain about how they were raised, about they had a parent who was very racist and microaggressions toward them and how they had their hair or who their friends were and all this other stuff. You don't want to cause confusion in your home. I mean, because the world is going to see you as one thing. They're not going to be playing all these little racial games y'all want to put in. But that brings me up to the View with Sunny hosting, and she was talking about something about being a mixed race. This woman cosplays everything. One day she's Puerto Rican, next thing she's black. She don't know what she want to be, and now she's mixed race. And I'm like, you get all these immigrants and they want to do all this melting. The melting pot was imaginary. There's no such thing as a melting pot. Okay, like goes with
Facts.
like, and America has beyond a doubt proved that. If you've ever lived here long enough, like goes with like. We're not London. Okay, we are pretty much segregated into our little hubs. Okay, if we weren't, there wouldn't be a little Chinatown. There wouldn't be a little Italy. So that's always been an imaginary tale that they've told the rest of the world that's just not true. You know,
Well, but
but as far as that's concerned, I say black women in particular, we think about this thing long term. We think about, I want somebody who can identify with me and my background. You want somebody you don't have to explain every little bit of thing to. And I don't want to have to change the way I see the world to fit yours, or to basically limit my viewpoint to fit yours, and put myself in a little box to make you feel safe and secure. I don't want to do that. What's the point of being in love with somebody if you have to completely change who you are to be with them? Be with
well,
somebody
bring
who accepts you and your family tree for what it is, and
the point.
understand there's a history that comes with it. And if you can't deal with it, you shouldn't be with that person. If you have to change everything about who you are, and including shutting your mouth about reality, you shouldn't be with this person.
Okay, the point, the original point that how this particular conversation started was because the professor was saying, I think he was saying that you were saying our story about the enemy knowing us, but we don't know us. And so I was just asking because I feel like we haven't. I haven't been in every space, but I feel like I don't hear enough in spaces about those type of things. Personally, I don't necessarily advocate for interracial dating. I guess especially like procreation. If you want to go out here and do your thing on the side and have a little fun, whatever. But like, creating whole families with outside of the race, I'm not necessarily advocating for that. But I was just simply asking a question to the family: uh, is it do pe- if we're all about stumping for the lineage, we're all about stumping for us FBAs, and so I guess posed the question and was asking if a foundational Black American man or woman dates outside their race, but they're still trying to stump for the lineage, and then they mess around and have children with someone outside of the race, would they still be respected in these spaces as a rider for the lineage? That's basically what I'm asking.
It depends. Like yeah, it just depends on
No.
because we're all human. You know what I'm saying? And it depends on how you present it. You know what I'm saying? If you're just like, hey, look, this is my life, and I don't know. I will say there are people in this that have that have the utmost respect.
Because
You know what I'm saying? They
it's
said
kind of like okay, you sitting here stumping for the lineage, and then somebody see your family, and they be like, nigga, you got a whole white family. Shut your ass up. You ain't.
well, and I'm kind of new to X, but that scenario you just brought up has come. I've seen that happen with people who are out here all rah rah, and you know what I'm saying, like just rah rah, and then they didn't let people know that they got, you know what I'm saying, a whole white family, a whole Asian family. You know what I'm saying? I think if you're upfront with it from the beginning, that makes a difference. But sometimes it don't. We're gonna get a couple more people. Um, yeah, I got an early morning lecture. Let's see. Somebody was Stacia. Did you have something to say? I thought I saw you had a hand up.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to answer the question about immigrant groups misrepresenting FBAs.
Okay.
And of course, it's a yes in all aspects of activity, whether it's in government, entertainment. You see, like your Joy Reid, you see your Emmanuel Acho, these people who, like, even during this election cycle, was broadly speaking about us Black people. Um, as like some sort of monolith of how we're going to vote and how we're going to do what we're doing. Um, so yeah, they're absolutely misrepresenting us. And as even the Democratic Party tries to, recalibrate, they're recalibrating based on something that's just not true anymore. We're no longer going to be blindly voting for